Welcome to the August 27th, 2018 Board of Trustees meeting. Before today's meeting commences, I'd like to ask everybody to stand for a moment of silence, remembering all the brave men and women who have served this great nation of ours, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the Waterford Elks Boy Scout Troop 810. Thank you. Boys, come on up.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Troop 810. First up, I need a motion to, roll call vote, excuse me, back up. Roll call attendance.
Bartolotta.
Here.
Birch. Here. Camilleri. Here. Fresca.
Here.
Joliet. Here. Thomas.
Here.
Walker.
Here. Now I need a motion to amend the agenda.
I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda, adding a closed session at the end of the meeting regarding litigation, settlement strategy in connection with the Charter Township of Waterford versus SD Capital, case 2018-165086-AS.
Support. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? None. Okay. Now I need a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'll support it. Any further discussion on that? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? None. Okay, under announcements. Township offices will be closed Monday, September 3rd in observation of the Labor Day holiday. As always, all emergency services will be available. Beginning Tuesday, September 4th, day after Labor Day, 2018, General Administrative Office hours return to fall and, don't hold against me for saying this word, winter hours. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. All operating hours can be found on the Township website on each department's page at www.waterfordmi.gov. The 16th annual Longest Breakfast Table fundraiser Pancake Breakfast will be held on Saturday, September 8th, 2018, from 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Waterford Regional Fire Station number 1 at the corner of Crescent Lake Road and Hatchery Road. Please join us while Waterford Police and firefighters split pancakes for the community. Enjoy, along with the pancakes, sausage, juice, coffee, and time spent with your Waterford neighbors and friends. All proceeds benefit the police and benevolent fund and firefighters charities. Same day, you leave the fire department, come over to Town Hall campus for the annual Big Wheels event from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Just about when you think the day was over with, keep going south on Crescent Lake Road, down to the Walking Shoes Art Exhibition, starting at 11:30, next to Buffalo Wild Wings at 5223 Highland Road. 40 decorated wooden shoes will be installed in trees along the Riverwalk. If you can't make it to the opening celebration, be sure to stroll along the Riverwalk and check out the artwork anytime during the entire month of September. The last day to pay your 2018 summer tax bill without interest is Friday, September 14th, 2018. Payment options and more tax information can be found on the Waterford Township Treasurer's website at www.waterfordmi.gov/treasurer. Waterford Township's monthly paper and cardboard recycling September date has been moved to Saturday, September 15th, the third Saturday of the month. This service is provided every month, usually on the first Saturday, but again, this month it's the third Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the parking lot here at Town Hall. And again, this is for Waterford residents only. The Waterford Historical Society presents Summer Sundays in the Village. No hoopla, just history. Spend a leisurely Sunday afternoon with us walking Waterford's historical village at your own pace. Stuff a mattress or wash some clothes. Pack a lunch and enjoy the Fish Hatchery Park. Free admission, Sundays, one's passed already, August 19th, and the next one is September 16th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. The historic village is located in Fish Hatchery Park at 4490 Hatchery Road in Waterford. For more information, please call 248-683-2697. The entrance to Fish Hatchery Park is about 200 feet west of where the Clinton River crosses Hatchery Road. Did you know that the Waterford Meals on Wheels delivers more than 1,200 meals per week, or 62,000 plus per year to homebound senior citizens? Walk and Roll Meals on Wheels is their largest funding event of the year in this very important program here in Waterford. Help support Waterford Meals on Wheels by participating in the 27th annual Walk and Roll for Meals on Wheels, Saturday, September 22nd, 2018. Registration begins at 8:30 at the Waterford Senior Center, 3621 Pontiac Lake Road. The walk begins at 10 a.m. and sign up today for the fun 3-mile walk, roll, or ride along on the bus. For more information, find the Waterford Senior Center on Facebook or call 248-682-9450. Friday, August 31st is International Overdose Awareness Day. The goal is to spread the message that the tragedy of overdose death is preventable. North America continues to experience the highest drug-related mortality rate around the world, accounting for 1 in 4 drug-related deaths globally. In fact, in January 2017, the Center for Disease Control estimated the number of people in the USA who died from overdose in the 12-month period prior to was 64,070. In Waterford, since January 2017, our police and fire departments have responded to 159 overdose calls, the majority of which were opiate related. Fortunately, our first responders utilizing the life-saving drug Narcan and have successfully saved 119 of these overdoses and referred 6 individuals to the services through the Hope Not Handcuffs program. Overdose Awareness Day aims to raise awareness about overdose and reduce the stigma of drug-related death. It seeks to acknowledge the grief felt by families and friends by remembering those who have died or had a permanent injury as a result of a drug overdose, and offers resources to those currently struggling. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction to substance abuse, there is help available. Oakland Community Health Network Substance Use Services provides confidential treatment services to Oakland County residents who have a current dependence on alcohol and or drugs. For more information, contact the office at 248-464-6363 during regular business hours, or you can call Common Ground at 800-231-1127 after hours. For more information about the Waterford Township Police Department's Hope Not Handcuffs programs, please call 248-674-0351. Going back to 2017, and we're talking locally now here in Oakland County, there were 312 overdose deaths in calendar year 2017. By comparison, and this is an article that just came out in the Oakland Press, there were 70 deaths for traffic accidents and 12 homicides countywide. So 312 people died from overdoses and 82 people died in accidental deaths and homicides. For the decade since 2008, Oakland County statistics are overdose deaths, 2,344, while fatal traffic accidents, 629, and homicides, 427. So this just stands out. This is a nationwide problem, statewide problem, countywide problem, and a township-wide problem. Again, it's something, anything you can do to help out or mentor people or coach people or encourage people to get involved in these programs. Again, it saves lives along with our first responders and their ability to go to that. Again, it's huge, and we're all in this together. Everybody knows somebody that has or has had a drug problem in their life. So be aware of this, and anything you do to help people out, please reach out. Under awards and presentations, we have a citizenship and bravery award for Boy Scout Dan Taylor. Dan, you want to come up? You got a speech. How are you going to speak? We're going to go tonight, aren't you? Okay. On behalf of the Charter Township Water Board of Trustees, along with all the citizens, residents, and businesses of this township, there's an award, Citizenship and Bravery Award to Dan Taylor, commending you for what you did. So we'd like you to just mention what you did to become a hero. Right there in the microphone where everybody can hear you. Hold on, we'll pull it right now so they hear it.
My birthday came by home, saved the kid's wife from choking. I did the homework.
There you go. Let's give it up one time. Although your voice got up, I call you Dan again. Okay? Congratulations, job well done. Matt, I think we get a future paramedic right there, so.
Thank you.
Get his info before he gets out of here today. Okay, next up, we have the consent agenda. Is there anything on the agenda that any of the board members would like to remove prior to me reading it? Okay, the August 13th, 2018 meeting minutes. Today, August 23rd, 2018 bill payment. Cable Department's July 2018 report. Development Services May and June 2018 reports. IT Department's February, March, and April 2018 reports. Parks and Recreation Department's May and June 2018 reports. And the Treasurer's Office July 2018 report.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. I'll support.
Any further discussion on that? This involves bill payments, so roll call.
Fresca,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Bartolotta,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Wall,
Yes.
Joliet,
Yes.
and Larry, yes.
Okay, next up is board liaison reports. Tony, we'll kick it off with you.
Okay, August 14th, we had a planning commission meeting. We had 3 cases. The first one is Ari Leibowitz, 435 North Telegraph Road. And we reviewed the intent usage of the current zoning of that property. The planning commissioners basically gave the okay to pursue this, pursue further. Now, the second case, Tom Woham had a site plan review for Rural Street off of Dixie Highway. He's gonna come back in front of us, final plan review. And we had a discussion with Jim Merritt, the former Lotus Elementary School property. He wants to put 31 condominiums in that property. That's all I got.
31 sites started at Lotus.
31 sites, yes, the old Lotus, former Lotus Elementary School.
Okay.
Looks very, very, his plan looks real nice. And Jim does, he's top notch.
Yeah, I framed for him in my younger years. He builds a quality product. So it'll be a nice addition to Waterford Township. Steve?
Last week we had a Waterford Cable Commission meeting on Tuesday night, and on the highlight of it, there was a news break about the Waterford Coalition and the Media Network was awarded a $6,000 grant to Project Spotlight 2018. This is a project which will be a documentary produced by Waterford students. The title of this documentary is You Think You Know, But You Don't. And this is the catchy title, and what it is that basically what they're going to be doing is discussing bullying, vaping, marijuana, alcohol, texting, anxiety. These are all code words. And the reason why they're doing this is a lot of parents don't know what's going on, and these students are going to do this. 5 students have been working on it. They've been working hard. And I think next week, or in the coming weeks, they're going to be starting editing of this, and it will be a documentary. I think it's 7 parts. So I think that's real interesting, so everybody can see it on cable network. That's it. Margaret?
Nothing to report.
Okay, just touching on, we did already, the Waterford Historical Society will be Sunday, September 16th, 1 to 4, strolling through the park.
I have nothing to report.
Karen?
We had a ZBA meeting, zoning board of appeals meeting last week, and we heard about 7 cases, some new bills and some additions. Some were approved and some weren't.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Next up, under old business, we get the Crescent Lake Special Assessment District Weed Eradication Resolution.
Yes. Resolution amending payment date for the Crescent Lake Aquatic Weed and Plant Control Program Special Assessments. Whereas on September 23rd, 2018, the Township Board adopted a resolution confirming Crescent Lake Aquatic Weed and Plant Control Special Assessment Role, Section 3 of which provided each special assessment will be payable in 5 annual installments, with each annual installment due and payable without interest or penalty on or before August 31st of each year beginning in 2018. Any unpaid annual assessment will be included in the December 1st winter tax bill for that year. Whereas the Township Board has now determined that the special assessment payment due date for the Crescent Lake SAD as originally established in July 8th, 2013 for 2013 through 2017 should be continued for the Crescent Lake SAD and special assessment roll that was confirmed on April 23rd, 2018 for 2018 through 2022. It's therefore resolved that Section 3 of the Township Board's April 23rd, 2018 resolution confirming the Crescent Lake Aquatic Weed and Plant Control Program Special Assessment Roll is amended to read as follows. Each special assessment will be payable in 5 annual installments to be billed on December 1st of each year from 2018 to 2022, with each annual installment due and payable without interest or penalty from December 1st through February 14th of the following year, or the next business day if that date falls on a weekend or holiday. So this was just sort of a housekeeping revision to an ordinance.
I'll make a motion to adopt the amended resolution.
Support.
Any further discussion on that?
September 23rd, 2018.
April 23rd, 2018 is when the board adopted the resolution that we are now. April,
23rd, 2018 was several months ago. Yep.
You said so.
oh, I did? I'm sorry, I should have said April 23rd is when the board adopted the resolution, and we are amending it today.
It does say it in there. So good catch.
April 23rd.
We do the motion now that we've corrected that.
I'll make a motion to adopt the amended resolution. Correcting the date.
Support.
Okay, any further discussion on that? This is a roll call vote.
Joliet,
Yes.
Fresca,
Yes.
Wall,
Yes.
Bartolotta,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Camilleri, yes, Birch,
Yes.
Okay, Next up, we need approval of listing price for sale of surplus property. Parcels on Hatchery Road.
Well, just very briefly, the document presented to you by the broker is presented as an amendment of a purchase agreement, and it lacks the new list price.
Correct, that's what
For that information, and I would simply suggest that the motion indicate that the board is approving a modified listing agreement, and that Gary Wall be deleted as one of the sellers.
Yes.
Say that again, please.
You approve a new listing price with a new amended listing agreement, leaving Gary Wall as an identified seller. Just the wrong form. It was presented.
As a resident, I'd like to know what is the listing price of this property and where is that going to go?
Well, we're going to determine the listing price tonight.
Okay, didn't he just say that they listed it for a certain price?
Yes, ma'am, it's been listed for 2 years and it hasn't sold.
Okay, and now he's got a price in mind, and what is that price?
We have a price in mind.
You have a price.
Township Board, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
So,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the new listing price of $295,000 and to approve also the new listing that extends the contract and deletes Gary Wall as the seller.
I'll support.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, well, anyone might identify the extended date on the listing. From September 7th, 2018.
Okay. Extending the contract from September 7, 2018 to September 7, 2019.
And 7-4 or 7-3 is Hatchery Road listing extension agreement. That's the second one. Right.
Okay. All right, we're going to start this over. I make a motion to approve the new listing price of $295,000 on the addendum amendment A, also striking the supervisor as one of the sellers, Supervisor Gary Wall as one of the sellers.
Support.
Any further discussion on that? Okay. Roll call vote.
Joliet.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Wall.
Yes?
Bartolotti.
Yes.
Camilleri. Yes. Fresca.
Yes.
Birch.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Now, the second part is to extend the Hatchery Road 5397 and 5445 properties listing agreement for $295,000.
Okay, I'll try this again. I'm making a motion to approve the amendment of the right to sell the property at 5397, 5445 Hatchwood Road, extending the term of the listing from September 7th, 2018 to September 7th, 2019, and also striking Gary Wall from this document as the seller. And just to clarify what that's all about, it's the township selling, not the supervisor. So we're taking his name off of the paperwork and leaving the Charter Township of Waterford as the seller.
Support.
Okay,
This property.
please. So Andrew will be receiving the address where it's at.
How big is it?
If you want to ask questions, raise your hand and come up to the microphone rather than blurting out from the audience, please. Okay? Yes, ma'am, you had your hand raised? Come on up to the podium, please.
My name is Pat Presto, and I would like to know, where's that money going to go?
Back into the general fund where it came from, the purchase in the first place. Yep. Yep. Well, is anybody else? I heard somebody ask where the property is. Okay, Hatch Road runs east and west, obviously. North side, Waterford Kettering High School, beyond this is on the south side of Hatchery Road. 1, 2, the third and fourth parcel west of Civic Center Drive coming back off of Hatchery Road, which lines up with Kettering Drive. You're going west on Hatchery Road. And then you've got the church on the corner, then you've got a residence, and then you've got 2 vacant parcels there. And then you've got the nursing home beyond that. So that's where it's at, south side of Hatchery Road. It abuts Clam Lake. Clam Lake is not one of the nicer lakes in Waterford Township, but technically it is lakefront property. So, does anybody else have any other questions they want to ask about the property? Okay? This is a roll call vote.
Thomas.
Yes.
Birch.
Yes.
Fresca.
Yes.
Joliet.
Yes.
Camilleri, yes. Bartolotta.
Yes.
Wall.
Yes. Okay. Next, we're going to open the public hearing on the estimated costs and expenses for the Waterford Police and Fire Department's SAD for 2019 at 6:28.
Mr. Wall,
Yes, sir?
if I may, per the notices that were in the paper and mailed to taxpayers, the board's public hearing is on 3 things. The first, an estimate of and any objections to the costs and expenses to operate, maintain, and equip the Township Police and Fire Departments for the 2019 calendar budget year. That estimate to be on file with the Township Clerk's Office and available for public inspection on or before August 22, 2018. That estimate was posted as this agenda item, and it's my understanding that it was on file with the Clerk's Office as required. Second point, on the question of and your objections to the creation of a police and fire special assessment district consisting of all real property in the township that is not exempt from property taxes. Finally, 3, the amount of a special assessment to be levied on the December 2018 tax bills against real property in any special assessment district created in amount of up to 2.95 mils to defray the costs and expenses of equipping, maintaining, and operating the police and fire departments in the 2019 calendar budget year. You do not need to hold a separate hearing on each of those 3 items. Anyone wishing to address you can address you on any of those 3.
Okay.
Answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
And we can limit 3 minutes comments as we do typically with citizens addressing the board.
Yes. We're going to do our introduction first and then open up the public comment, ma'am. Are you ready? This one looks real, there First, I'd like to start off by thanking all the Waterford Township residents who took time to come out and vote at the SAD, whether you were for or against it. From the 2014 gubernatorial primary, there was a 59.8% increase in voters that showed up at the polls this year. Okay, so that tells me people were paying attention, whether they were for or against it, and they came out and they voiced their opinion at the polls. First up, we're going to go over estimated fire costs for 2019. Okay, the numbers are up there. Fire protection personnel, $15,771,997. Fire operation and maintenance, $2,057,474. And then fire protection capital and equipment, $1,910,895. And that's motor vehicles, apparatus, equipment per the apparatus and vehicles. That takes the estimated total to $19,740,366. And this does not include the SAFER grant, because the SAFER grant technically will expire September 23rd, Matt?
Yes.
September 23rd is the end of the SAFER grant. Chief John Lyman has applied for an extension of it, but we've not heard back on it yet. And usually the old saying, no news is good news. So we're hoping that that's the case here and it will get extended. So, and if it does, like I said, the funding is there for that. That won't have any impact on the general fund. Okay, next up, we have the estimated police costs for calendar year 2019. Police protection personnel, $13,102,944. Police operation and maintenance, $1,491,057. Police protection capital and equipment, $240,000. That's motor vehicles, apparatus, and equipment, and obviously police vehicles are a lot less than fire vehicles. Estimated total cost of $14,834,001. Next we go to slide 3, estimated revenues for police and fire. Okay, first off we have fire. Fire millage 1, fire millage 2, fire millage 3, fire contractual services with the cities of Pontiac and Lake Angeles, fire EMS fees, they're generated on runs, other revenue sources, and then the general fund transfer from the township is the last number on the list, which comes to a total revenue of $16,870,095. And again, that's not including the public safety SAD or the fire SAFER grant, because again, the SAFER grant is due to expire September 23rd, and I think it's still, we've applied for an extension, but we have not heard back on that. Slide number 4 could be police revenues 2019. Millage 1, millage 2, general fund transfer, and then other revenue sources, which are grants, fees, interest, traffic tickets, etc. That comes to a grand total of $11,641,300. And again, this is not including the SAD. Slide number 5. Okay, this will show you revenue compared to expenses. Okay, so starting out, fire department, fire estimated revenue again is $16,870,095. Fire estimated expenses for 2019, $19,740,366, which brings us to the negative number of $2,870,271. Police department, 2019 estimated revenue is $11,641,300. Estimated expenses are $14,834,001, which gives us a negative number of $3,192,701. So the estimated expenses, combined expenses over revenue is $6,062,972. So again, These are projections and these are estimates, and these are numbers that we originally put together in February of this calendar year. And we've adjusted them as we've gone along up to the language put out with the SAD, and that's where those numbers are at. So, to where we're at right now, the estimated combined expense over revenue is $6,062,972. Okay. The estimated first year police and fire special assessment district levy at 2.95 mils is $6,032,094, which creates a number of $30,877. Again, expenses over revenue. And again, these are numbers that we had plugged in. We worked right from the beginning. Fire gave us their purchase list for vehicles, the equipment, and maintenance of our existing equipments and buildings right across the board. These are the numbers we came in with. Police department did the same thing. We're looking, and the reason we say we're looking at hiring up to 9 police officers, and I don't want to tell you, hey, we're hiring 9 cops and we only hire 6 because that's all we can get the first time through. Our goal is to hire 9 police officers, but we don't want to say 9 right out of the gate. Again, the last time I checked, people weren't lining up to be cops in the United States. So again, it's tougher and tougher, but at the same time, the economy is recovering nationwide and there's a bigger demand across the board. So again, we're going to hire up to 9 police officers. That is our goal, 9. And we're going to hire up to 5 firefighter paramedics. Now, that could be a little easier understanding if the SAFER grant goes away. At the end of that, 2 years the SAFER grant goes away, there will be people from the SAFER grant available, 2 years worth of training in Waterford Township that can come on board. So it will be easier, I think, to hire the 5 firefighter paramedics than it will be to hire the police officers. So that being said, here we are, okay, and then we're buying additional police vehicles and going to implement a capital vehicle program to address the fire fleet, and that is EMS rigs and fire trucks. And as we talked about all along prior to the SAD, going into the SAD, and the story's still the same. Our fleet is old, it's aged, and at times it is literally falling apart. So the projection, again, this is the first year, and looking at it, the first year, we're going to recommend, the numbers shown here, is to levy the full 2.95 mils for 2019. And I look at it this way, and people can look at it differently. I'm looking at it from a business aspect, okay? I talked to a General Motors dealership about everyday vehicles. That would be command vehicles, staff vehicles and stuff. And they said, figure a 4% annual increase. Chief Lyman talked to the fire company about fire trucks and EMS rigs. They said, figure a 5% increase. So we split it. We figured 4.5% a year. The projection for increase in revenues at about 2%. Okay, so first year, buy as much as we can, because that's going to be the least expensive year we have to purchase things. And God knows if this worldwide steel tariff goes into effect, who knows what the cost of fire trucks and EMS rigs and police cars are going to be next year. But obviously, if it goes into effect and it has a negative impact, the price is going to go up. So again, first year, we have an opportunity, the biggest impact, to get as much as we can. And then year 2, the wages go up. Year 3, the wages go up. And year 4, they go to the highest level they can be at. So every year, there's more money dedicated to wages. And obviously, with the uptick in the cost of equipment, there'll be more money. So you'll be able to get less each year as time goes on. So I think it's imperative the first year that we spend the money we can spend and get as much as we can right out of the gate, and then move forward from there. Does anybody else on the board have anything else to add?
Oh, that was a good summation, Gary. Thank you.
Anybody?
I'd like to ask some questions about the chiefs of police and fire.
You get to along well enough to share a microphone?
Yeah, we get along great. I guess I'll start with you, Matt. The 1.9 mil for fire vehicles, how many trucks are you buying with that kind of money?
The goal this year is to buy, or should I say 2019, it was 2018, is to buy 2 fire engines, 2 ambulances, and 2 staff vehicles, what we've asked the township to come
So you
forward.
buy 6 altogether, the trucks,
6
EMS
vehicles
staff,
altogether.
command staff? And Chief Underwood, I got a couple of questions. I see you're gonna spend $240 on police cars. How many cars do you plan on buying this year?
It's actually 148,000 on police cars. The remainder would be
148, okay. It's round off to 240,000 there. Okay, so how many cars are you gonna buy with that?
That'll be for 4 vehicles, 3 marked, 1 unmarked. Realistically, we'll probably need more than that, but we'll supplement with restricted drug forfeiture money that we have.
Traditionally, we used to spend the 208 drug forfeiture money on police vehicles, so just my question is, why are we dipping into that fund, by police vehicles?
We'll dip in and buy some of that, but it's not money that we can count on every year. It's not recurring revenue, and we can't count on that in the budgetary process to be available every year to buy X amount of police cars. So previously, we've used it to supplement when there's no money available to buy vehicles. Same thing with equipment, same thing with other expenses that the restricted funds are available to use and permissible for, and we will do that in the future as well.
Can you tell me to date what the balance is on the 208 drug forfeiture fund?
There's 2 separate funds. One is state drug forfeiture money, one is federal drug forfeiture money. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's roughly $1 million.
$1 million of our Water Township's money?
Yes.
Really, I just want to know what kind of, how many vehicles you're gonna buy and what was the plan of buying. Have you put an order in yet?
We have not, only because we can't spend money that hasn't been approved for 2019 yet. We would like to go ahead and order ahead of time, but we can't cut purchase orders and make agreements to spend money we don't have yet. So it appears like we're gonna have to wait until the 2017 budget is approved and that money's available to spend.
I'm assuming that goes to the fire department too, man.
Yes, that's true, Tony. It'll take at least a year plus for those engines to be built. The sooner we get our order, the better, but after talking to Gary and the supervisor's office, there's just, you cannot do it by law until after January 1, 2019 with an approved budget.
That's all I have, just want to know about the vehicles, thank you.
And then for clarification, of the 9 police officers, we're gonna have sergeant go to LT, backfill the sergeant position, and then we're gonna have two more detectives, correct?
Yeah, we need to add 2 to the detective bureau. We'll have 9 new police officers.
Correct.
We'll add 2 positions to the detective bureau to help out with the overload there. Each one, there's only 4 and 1 sergeant currently, so caseload is heavy. And then the remaining 7 new bodies will go onto the road and roll.
And typically, we have 2 shifts to patrol cars, so that'll give us, 3 patrol units for 6 of the new guys.
So normally we assign, we'll assign police cars so that they don't run for 24 hours a day.
Right.
It just wouldn't be feasible in terms of repairs and mileage. So we'll assign them to different officers on different shifts so that they can use 2 shifts, 16 hours out of that 24-hour period.
Good. And then another thing that, again, like you said, the first year of hiring police officers and firefighters, it was factored in, but they all have to be equipped. And there's a lot of money at the front end in that first year too. Like I said, we're spending money on vehicles and wanting the entire 2.95 mils. You have to equip 9 police officers, you have to equip 5 firefighters. So again, that's personal equipment, so that's part of the job. And again, it comes at the front end where you got your biggest expense coming right out of the gate, but you got that's your least expensive. Because again, preaching to the choir here, everybody knows as time goes on, nothing gets less expensive. It costs more and more each year. So,
I have a question. Is the police and fire salaries that were shown, does that include an estimated overtime in any department, either department?
Go ahead.
So in the state of Michigan, or Fair Labor Standard Act in Michigan says firefighters earn 6 hours of overtime every pay period. It's called the Fair Labor Standard Act, means anyone works over 50, they work a 52-hour work week, therefore it's 6 hours of overtime, but it's factored into their annual wage. So if you look at a firefighter's hourly wage, it's less than like a police officer would be hourly wage because of the way they work their 24-hour shifts. So it really is very comparable. Entry-level police officer, entry-level firefighter, very similar at the end of the year. But they work a 56-hour work week, which it shows 52. It's very confusing to show you on paper, but there is a mandatory overtime that is in the budget. You can see it in the budget annually, the Fair Labor Standard Act overtime.
That is factored in though, right?
It is factored in.
Yep.
That is correct.
It is factored in, yep.
We actually, we expect to be able to handle the overtime amount, the current budgeted overtime amount. We actually expect to see a reduction in overtime because we are currently using overtime to staff some shifts when we're at a number where we don't think that we can operate or function or police the township adequately with the number of officers scheduled for that day, so we'll bring somebody in on overtime. Because we're obligated to provide these people with vacation time, sick time, things that they're entitled to, benefits based on collective bargaining.
Anybody else?
Couple more questions for you, Matt. In the fire protection operation and maintenance on page 3, you get $2,057,000. Includes operation costs, maintenance costs for housing buildings. Is there any plans of the Walton Fire Station being expanded? Is that figured in?
Well, as you know, Tony, in the past, we've met and discussed Station 2. Station 2 is our oldest fire station. It barely houses a fire truck. The chief and I would love to replace that station. We do own the property at Mason. That would be to the west side of the entrance, first entrance to the west side of Mason. But I don't know if that's even going to be practical, once we go through this, where we're going to be at the cost and
I guess the $2 million figure I see in here, is that wages too? I've seen fire protection personnel, that's $15,707,000. I'm assuming that's benefits, wages, and everything.
That's correct.
So the next one, $2 million would be upgrading buildings.
I use an example, Fire Station 1, the metal roof is starting to rust. It has issues with it. Hugo's worked with us. I know it's a brand new building. It drives me crazy. It's almost 20 years old now. But
I'm laughing and just got paid for it.
Yeah, I know, it makes me sick, but it's $100,000 worth of repair just on the metal roof. The rubber roof, whenever those things happened back in the day, they were always bitter. And that rubber roof is thousands of dollars of repair. Come look at the concrete in that parking lot. It makes me sick every day pulling it to see the condition of the parking lot. And there's $60,000 to $70,000 worth of just minimal concrete work that needs to be done there. And all of our stations, Station 5's asphalt parking lot's starting to fail. We have a lot of infrastructure that needs to be addressed. Since 2007, 2008, we've been able to put about $50,000 a year annually into these properties, and it's just not enough.
And I understand, you gotta maintain what you have to keep it up. And, I guess the comment I made about building being paid for, now you're putting a roof on, is out of line. Do you anticipate a lot of maintenance costs next year? I mean, you just touched on a few things.
And I'll just
Fire Station 1,
the only way I can answer that, truthfully and honestly, is that they've been neglected. We've done everything in our power to keep up with what we can, but we're putting Band-Aids on things because the money is dollars right there. And this is going to help us put fixes on these buildings. That's what we really need. We need to fix things, not keep nickel and diming the residents, thousands of dollars here, thousands of dollars there, and it's not being fixed. This is going to get us to that point where we can actually start fixing our stuff.
I'm a firm believer, pay now, pay later, get it done right.
And in the long run, it's cost us a lot more over the years by doing Band-Aids.
Okay, I'm just curious about the $2 million, so that is gonna maintain what we have to keep it going.
Keep going in a positive direction, yes.
Thank you.
And again, as you touched on that, there was the stuff that it won't say it was neglected. The money just wasn't there for years and years and years to pay for this. This is why we came and asked the public for the SAD, because again, we're aware of these things. And again, we're putting, what she said, we're putting Band-Aids on stuff that needed stitches or surgery, literally. It needed to be updated, it needed to be fixed. So we're in a position now, but we can't do it all in 1 year. So as time goes on, we're going to have to spread it out. We can't replace all the fire trucks in 1 year. And other than the first year, we're going to try to go to one fire rig a year. That's the one part that's locked in, is vehicles is the number that was locked in and the millage that has to be. It can be greater than that, but it can't be any less than that for vehicles on an annual basis. But if you start buying 2 or 3 vehicles a year, and then they wear out 2 or 3 in the same year, down the road, you gotta start replacing 2 or 3 vehicles a year. So I have ideal situations, buy a couple the first year with the cost at the least, and then just do 1 a year after that. And then again, when it comes time to start replacing vehicles again, you're replacing them 1 at a time rather than 2 or 3 at a time, because the funding won't probably be there for it. So we're trying to get this set up to where it works, and it works well, and it keeps us sustainable, keeps our buildings maintained, and works out. That was the overall plan. So. Anybody else have any questions for the chief or deputy chief? Okay. Gentlemen?
I would ask every speaker to announce their name.
Ray Kozlowski, 3642 Bayport Drive.
You have 3 minutes, right?
Okay.
Speak into the mic, they can hear you.
Okay. I thought Pontiac was buying a fire engine every 3 years.
Pontiac's fire contract for the first 3 years was $6.2 million. Currently, as of last year, 2018, that contract was $7.5 million. So every year there's a 5% increase. John Lyman, Chief, and I have been putting into a capital improvement fund every year dollars into our capital savings account to help purchase.
I think going to buy a new truck was.
Repeat that again, sir.
If Pontiac going to buy us a new fire truck.
Pontiac's contract currently, we are putting money away every year to buy trucks.
You are? Waterford?
Waterford Township's taking money from the Pontiac contract and putting that money away into a capital vehicle.
That was not my understanding. I thought they was buy us a new truck every 3 years.
I've never seen that in a contract.
I also looked at the police department. I thought Lake Angeles was supposed to buy a couple of police cars.
We don't serve Lake Angeles for police.
You don't? Okay, my mistake.
No, they don't police department. We do fire.
Are they contribute to the cost too?
Well, you just try to rate people Lake Angeles tickets when they come into Waterford, that might bump it up.
Why not? Okay, that's my two questions. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Okay. Yes, sir.
Bill Luffman, 7334 Mason Lake Road. I'm just kind of at a loss. How did we underestimate in your budget and your ongoing procedures 14 people? How did we come up 14 people short?
Hold on, underestimate 14 people, you mean?
9 police and 5 fire.
But
That's 14 people.
Right.
How did we underestimate that in our budgets?
We didn't underestimate it in the budgets.
Then why do we have to have a special assessment district in order to pay for it?
You want me to answer?
Yeah.
2010, Waterford Police Department lost 27 people. They retired 17 early and laid 10 more off. Okay? And it's been that way ever since. Now, there was a person who come out and said, what are you talking about? They just hired 6 people. Yeah, we did hire 6 people to replace 6 people that had been retired. It's not underestimating the budget. You got X amount of dollars to go along, and that's it. And if you overspend your budget and spend your fund balance down, now we're talking about the city of Pontiac. They no longer have a police department, they no longer have a fire department. Again, like I said, if you file bankruptcy, because you spend all your money, so we spend with what we got and we make do with what we got. That's why we had to ask for a special assessment district. We don't have the funding to hire any more new police officers. We don't have the funding to hire any more new firefighter paramedics. We didn't have the funding for it.
Is this for Pontiac and Lake Angeles?
No, sir, this is for Waterford Township. The beautiful thing about this tax or a special assessment or whatever you want to call it, every penny, unlike state, county, and federal taxes that go out and you get pocket change back, all this money stays right in Waterford Township. Waterford Township, not City of Pontiac, not Lake Angeles, Waterford Township. And like they said, the last new fire truck we got, prior to the two we bought last year, the City of Lake Angeles bought it for Waterford Township as part of that contractual agreement.
What are the actual expenses? We saw a lot of numbers tonight. And without sitting down and having the ability to comparison, what are the actual expense, current expenses versus your estimate
Current expenses for,
police and fire versus your estimate? Because your estimates are including all the new equipment, all the new personnel. What are your current expenses?
okay, not including raises or anything in there, projected for the 2018 calendar year, currently, we're projected to be $1,080,000 in the red, okay? That's what the projection was. So you take that off of there compared to these numbers, it looks like we're about 5 million, about 5 million, about that.
So we were only $1 million in the red.
Yeah, that.
If everything went along.
Yeah, that was for 2018.
Right.
2013, our very first year in office, and I know people are gonna laugh because I said we were $5,755 in the black. The next year we were 210,000 in the black, okay? And then we started neutralizing and we started going backwards. As I said, we're recovering from the revenue, but again, Waterford's a primarily, developed community, and all the houses, until they sell or they build new ones, don't come on cap. So as the property values went down, they stayed down. I know I'm paying this year $1,100 less than I paid in property taxes, same house, same place, 31 years, than I paid in 2009. So I mean, the values went way down, but the wages didn't go down, the benefits didn't go down, the cost of fuel, insurance, none of that stuff went down, it stayed the same. So as the revenues dropped, the cost, was here, then the cost stayed, and now you had expenses over revenues, and the number would have gotten worse this year.
Yeah, but we are expanding.
Yes, we are. That was the purpose of the SAD, to replace, like I said, fire lost 3 people in 2015, and we're replacing them 3 plus 2 more, so they got a 67% bump. Police department's getting 9, they lost 27, they're getting a 33% bump, so.
Now, what happens to the old equipment when we buy new? Do we get any residual value from that?
Yes, we send it
Is
off.
that included in your budget? I didn't see anything for.
Well, it's not included in the budget. In the first fire truck we're looking to send in this way, we're figuring between $34,000 and $40,000. You could cruise Woodward in this thing for the classic car grade, it's so old. I'm just saying, they're not gonna bring a lot of money because they're so old. They look good. We take good care of our vehicles, we maintain our vehicles, but they're wore out. And then they said they just don't have a lot of value to them.
I mean to interrupt, Matt, would you, I know I learned a little bit about what you do with fire trucks.
So fire trucks, obviously, it's very specific who's going to buy it. One of the issues that we currently face is the vehicles we're selling are anywhere from 20 years old to 16 years old. The value just doesn't exist. They're basically, you're going to get scrapped on a lot of them if you're lucky. Ours have high mileage. The point system that they have, the point system is extremely high. And it looks at the wear and tear on the systems. They look great on the outside. If you get on a creeper or anything, you'll see the rust and all the issues that are going on below them from the salt we use in Michigan, the corrosion factor. The issue is that we look at 2 of our softened fire trucks, our old ones that we're looking at selling that are nearly 21 years old now. We'll be lucky to get $25,000 for them. The Quint that we just listed was a 1991. The chief and I are shooting for the moon at $40,000. I truly believe we'll be lucky to get $20,000 out of the truck. But we're going to start buying it. Hopefully we can squeeze some extra pennies out of it to help us, put back into the capital fund to use towards buying vehicles.
Well, when we buy new equipment, can't we do a better job of preventative maintenance, protecting them right from the very beginning, like we do our old classic cars, like we take on Woodward, because we make sure that there's no salt getting to the metal.
So I can definitely comment on that. If you ever go to a fire station, it's one of the cleanest places you ever be. They're washed, they're waxed, they're rinsed underneath. You can only do so good. The newer vehicles do have what's called cast coating, which is a material they use to paint the frame rails and some of the metals underneath that should gain us some experience. The older trucks didn't have as good a coating. Things have developed quite a bit over the last 20, 25 years. I've been in the fire service for corrosion protection. So these trucks are accurate. I mean, they're got the best they can, but there's just no dollar value. High mileage, high engine mileage, long-term corrosion has just destroyed the vehicles that we drive. We are getting nickel and dime repairing these vehicles daily.
In our contracts that we have with Los Angeles and Pontiac, that has to be taken into consideration, because now we're putting more miles on our vehicles, they're wearing out faster, and now Waterford residents are having to pay for it,
For what?
for the new vehicles.
The vehicles are coming to the Waterford fire stations. They're for Waterford, they're not for Pawnee. You got Lake Angeles, we run to Lake Angeles, that's our last new fire truck we got. Was for Lake Angeles. Again, they will run there, but they'll be housed at the Waterford fire station, and we have to run back up. But the other vehicles will be down on the 3 Pontiac fire stations that are down there.
Well, I know, for one, the 2.95 mil increase that was voted in, and I'm surprised it didn't get voted in, is a bit steep. And we like to see it not fully used, if nothing else. There's no law saying that you have to assess a full 2.95%. You don't have to.
Right.
I mean, you can go far less. And my income doesn't go up. I'm a senior citizen. I don't get more, well, once in a while we get a little more social, but our pensions are frozen. So anything you can do would definitely be a plus.
Matt, another thing you were talking about too, there was fire trucks at the AGR. It's almost impossible to find replacement parts for them too when the parts wear out. I mean, there's just not a lot of warehouses full of 20 and 25-year-old. Like you said, the grid's 27 years old.
We struggle daily to find parts for our older trucks. And one of the issues with trucks that we used to buy, so the residents are aware, we used to buy from a company called Pierce. Pierce basically hides the part numbers, they hide the information about the part, and you have to buy Pierce-specific parts. Chief Lyman and I have changed that. We are no longer buying Pierce trucks. We're buying Suffin trucks. We can go to any of the major vehicle repair shops in the area, any part suppliers, and find the general parts that we need, from brake pads to rollers to the stuff that we need. So we're not paying $600 for a windshield when it should be $150 for a windshield. So that's one of the big things we're doing. We're going from a $650,000 fire truck to a $450,000 fire truck. We truly believe they're going to do the same job. We're buying a Chevy pickup truck or a Ford pickup truck, not the Cadillacs. Save money.
I would like to add too that you do take very good care of the vehicles. Unlike classic vehicles, they have to go out in the rain and the snow. If you're willing to wait for a nice sunny day to have your fire put out, they would last as long as the classic cars do.
Good point.
We appreciate
Okay, anybody else? You're on deck, sir, the Busher, you're on deck.
That's all right.
Carol Mills, 2720 Silverside. I have a question. Why did you choose a special assessment which cannot be taken on your federal tax return versus an ad valorem tax?
Turn it over.
Well, the special assessment is not considered a tax for purposes of the Charter Township's tax limitations.
Okay, I knew we were billed out on our taxes,
Correct.
so we did an SAD because an ad valorem is also.
It's a double burden on the taxpayers because we can't deduct it on our federal tax return.
Nor can I, and I'm a resident of Waterford Township.
Okay. I have a
But before we leave that subject, we did have this discussion before we decided to go with this. And Attorney Dover, didn't you say that this was indeed tax deductible?
It may be.
I think so.
Maybe we recall that. And can't turn it for now.
I'd like to read you a quote from an article that I have. The base of a special assessment is legally defined as property especially benefiting from the public improvement. The courts have consistently ruled that property normally exempt from the general ad valorem property tax used for religious, charitable, educational, or scientific purposes and public service business property is not exempt from special assessments. This is an article from the Misuse and Abuse of Special Assessments in Michigan by the Citizens Research Council. And you specifically say here that we're not taking money from properties that are currently considered exempt.
Correct.
law states that they cannot be exempt.
Okay, is that factual there? I mean,
Well, like I said, it's from the Citizens Research Council of Michigan,
right?
and they do have some.
They used to be the law change.
Oh, well, she said something to me. The Michigan law also says that the only purpose of a special assessment is to increase value of property. So how did you figure, did you use a reasonable proportionality proof or proof of, Act 188, apportionment for calculations, tax burden to ratio benefit?
No, we did, but we projected the numbers back in February on property values with a 2% increase projected for 2019. Got those numbers from Oakland County. They told us to figure a 2% increase in property values across the board.
Okay, then why does the millage exceed that?
It's not a millage, it's a special assessment district.
Well, it's an ad valorem tax assessment.
Right. I said 2% increase. I didn't say a 2 mil increase. I said a 2% increase.
Well, how much is that? That is, we already have a police and fire department, so how are you calculating that our property values are going to go up because we're buying a new truck?
That's not why I'm saying the property values are going. We're talking about inflation and property value increase.
Yes.
Here, real quick,
Hold on. Yes, sir.
just to clarify, reading Act 188, what is being talked about and discussed is Act 51. So you're reading through two different acts, including from one related to roads and public improvement.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Public improvement could improve the value of the house.
And Erie.
Yes, but do they have to be able to prove that and give some kind of a note? That this is,
And Erie.
well, it's still objective.
Okay. Sir.
Well, wait for him to come down. I would like to say I have a copy of the IRS publication 530, tax information for homeowners, and it says you can deduct the tax if it is assessed uniformly at a like rate on all real property throughout the community. The proceeds must be used for general community or government purposes and not be a payment for a special privilege granted or a service rendered to you. So according to the IRS publication 530, it says you can deduct it.
And that was in my opinion, whenever you go to Senator 6.17.
Yes, sir.
My name is Dan Regan, and a few questions. First of all, as I understand it, our budget for fire and police was about $5 million for 2018, and what is the total number for 2019?
Showed them earlier.
I know, right? Was it like 19 million, I think, or something like that?
Let me go back and look at those numbers for you, sir. 366, and that's expenses for fire and 14,834,001 for police.
So a total of 19 million.
19, 14, 33.
33 million.
Yes.
So we went up from 5 million to 33 million?
Wasn't 5 million.
I thought it was 5 million, and we're 1 million short. So
No. I was talking about the special assessment district bringing $6,032,094, and we were projected out for calendar year 2018 to be $1,080,000 in the hole. So I'm saying, if you look at the difference, it'd be about a $5 million bump towards police and fire that would generate.
Second question, why was this held in a primary election and a ballot thing that was put on the back of the ballot rather than a general election? It would seem to me that you'd get a more representative turnout for a general election.
Okay.
It was on the front of the ballot.
The ballot I voted was on the front of the ballot, it wasn't on the back.
It was on the front of every ballot.
Please, let's be orderly here, please. Okay, and then the second one is, we explained this in sort of detail at the town hall, the special assessment district was, again, okay, here we are tonight, doing this town hall, and we're gonna do another one at the board meeting on the 24th of September, okay? So you put it on general ballot, 5 weeks from the general election ballot, 5 weeks, we have to have our budget into the state of Michigan. December 15th, it has to be in there. It's a very short window, and I've been crunching numbers now for 2 months on the 2019 budget with nothing to do with the SAD. So now you go back. So again, it's a short time period to get all that stuff in. So we decided to put it on the primary ballot, and then if it did fail on the primary ballot, you're going to have a plan B for the general election ballot. What that was, I never talked about, because I had faith in the people of Waterford Township and their respect and love and passion for their police and fire departments, that they would approve it for the betterment of our community.
I don't think anybody questions our respect and love for the fire and police. We appreciate them greatly.
Yes, sir.
But one of the questions I have is, what percentage of our budget is allocated toward Lake Angeles and Pontiac?
We make money off of both of those.
Now, do you expect Pontiac to be able to save to pay their bills if they're bankrupt?
Pontiac's not bankrupt anymore. They're back flying high again.
But they can't afford their own police and fire.
Well, to start up a police and fire department is, you got to buy all that stuff starting out, and that's a little different. It's starting up again. But again, when they were down, the City Hope County Sheriff's Department took over the police department, and then water.
Is this a temporary measure then? Will they eventually have their own?
Honey, we're a 10-year contract, 4 years left.
It expires in
2022?
2022.
It's over there. So now, if they don't renew the contract, we're done with them. But we will sit down and negotiate the contract with them.
But we're buying extra equipment to service Pontiac and Lake Angeles. Is that true?
No, we're starting. We've got equipment right now, and the equipment's in Pontiac. It's going to stay in Pontiac. Waterford Township Fire Department is here to stay. Pontiac and Lake Angeles on contracts. If they go away, the vehicles stay with Waterford Township. They're our vehicles. They're our vehicles. They're not Pontiac, not
Then
Lake
we
Angeles.
have more than
But our manpower, we added them, aren't they?
Please, if you want to speak, remain orderly and raise your hand and come up to the front. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, if we get this grant, the SAFER grant, do you have any idea how much that would be?
I don't know what is the time frame he was looking. Was he looking to get another year?
So currently, the way if you look at the dollars that are left in the current SAFER grant, there should be enough, I should say there is plenty of money to make it another year. The question is whether they'll grant us a year or not.
Right.
We might not get an extension. There is no answer. There is nothing yet, except we did get an email the other day that we were able to answer. They had some basic questions they wanted to ask. It usually means moving up the chain, but it could be a yes or a no. You don't know. My heart tells me it's going to be a yes because they don't like to give the money or receive the money back. They want to spend the money. That's why it's there.
Right.
So we're crossing our fingers that we'll be able to keep the SAFER grant until September, the same month of 2019.
And that's funded 100% by the SAFER grant.
How much is that, Phil?
What are you looking at, probably 2.8 million?
So last year we budgeted 3.3 million. We only spent about 1.5 because there's a large turnover with SAFER grants because they're temporary employee. But you're looking at this last budget year, we had 3.3 million budgeted for that, but we'd only spent 1.5, and we were at 60% of the budget should have been used, and we only used 42% of the money. So there's been leftover money each year because we thought we were going to get the SAFER grant employees back that we had in like 6 to 8 return.
Right.
So we hired everybody at beginner wage, so we saw big savings at first, so we're definitely adding dollars.
And as I said earlier, it's harder right now to hire firefighters and law enforcement officers. And again, like I said, it's up to 39, and anytime you're under that, you're not spending the money that would be allocated for those. So if you got 33, there's 6 people you're not spending money on. So again, you've got that money left over at the end of the grant.
believe I looked today, Supervisor Wall, we were down 9.
9, we're at 30 now, okay. Last number I remember was 33, but yep, okay.
So if we get the grant money, and if our expenses are not as high as we anticipate, will the taxes be reduced accordingly?
The SAFER grant money has nothing to do with equipment and hiring new manpower. It has nothing to do with that. That's like I said, that's like a 2-year lease on an automobile. At the end of the 2-year lease, you send the vehicle back and so the same with the SAFER grant. We had this before, which we got 30 months out of the first time we got 20.
What does the grant money go to then?
Wages for the firefighters. They're already equipped. They already got all their stuff. It's just wages to pay them while they're on the clock here at Waterford Regional Fire.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yes, sir.
My name is Ryan McCleary, and I'm 3478 Lexington. Thank you for all your time working on this. I appreciate it. I regret I'm a new resident, and I'm going to come here and object. And I apologize that that's the first time you've met me. I'd rather be under different circumstances. I do have a few objections. I'm a new resident, so I moved in last December. So my property taxes are uncapped. As of this year, I'm bearing the full brunt of this, and it was not budgeted for when I purchased my home. As some of you said, well, we've gotten a discount on our taxes. That doesn't apply to all the residents in Waterford. So just ask that you keep that in mind. First, I object to the estimate that's been proposed because it doesn't explain why the increase is needed. What's been provided is just a single number for the budget for this year. It doesn't compare against last year, and it doesn't also explain where the money is going. I realize that you've been discussing where the money could go, but that information has been provided to the public in writing. So we have no way to evaluate where exactly the money is going. Also, much of the budget goes to Pontiac and Lake Angeles, as you've indicated. For fire, I think it was something like 40%. There hasn't been any information provided to voters or this board as to how Pontiac and Lake Angeles will not benefit from the special assessment district. According to the statute, the land that's assessed has to be all the area that benefits from the special assessment. If all the land isn't assessed that benefits, the special assessment's void. I also have a few other objections. These really aren't matters that this board can address, but I want to bring them up nonetheless. First, the statute assesses the special assessment based on taxable value and not state equalized value. And so this unfairly addresses me and new property owners that have their taxes uncapped. And less taxes are assessed for those who have been in the township for a while. Now, Proposal A says that you can do this for taxes. However, for special assessments, that's a different question. And personally, I think that's not constitutional. And if it were a challenge, it would be held not to be constitutional. The other item is the reason why we're here, the reason why I'm here, is because your revenues have been decreased by 30%, 35%, because of the recent dip in collections, right? We all know this. I came from Royal Oak, it was a problem there. This isn't an uncommon problem around the state. So the statute that governs how you calculate the taxable value indicates that you have to do that based upon the prior year. But the constitutional amendment provided by Proposal A says that the increase has to be based on the prior year. However, it does not say what the increase has to be based from. So when Proposal A went through, the voters never intended for Mr. Wall to get a discount on his taxes because he lived here for a while, or Sue for you to get a discount on your taxes, and for me to pay a disproportionate higher share of taxes. So I just bring that up as a consideration to consider, and also a basis on which the special assessment could be changed. Thank you.
Next. Yes, ma'am?
police officers do we have now?
54 full-time and 5 part-time.
So you want to increase it 9 more police officers? How much is the percentage of crime higher than what it was a year ago?
Well, I can tell you that the crime rate actually, in a number of areas has fallen, but what I also will tell you is the workload has actually increased. Back in 2010, there were 81 police officers here, and today, like I said, we have 54 full-time and 5 part-time, trying to do the same amount of workload with that many less police officers. That's the reason for the increase. We have 4 detectives in the detective bureau, which are handling caseloads we can barely keep up with, and we have a number of officers on the road with scheduling where, like I said earlier, sometimes we need to fill in time because we don't have enough to meet that particular number that we've established is the correct number for each shift.
Okay, so crime has gone down. You have been able to work with these 50-some people, police officers, and you've gotten the job done and crime has gone down, and you want to increase it 9 more people because you said that they're overtaxed.
My response to that would be is that the national average for police officers per 1,000 residents is 1.8. As we sit here tonight, our average is 0.790 per 1,000. We are under policed in this community. That's the reason for the increase in 9%.
And that would be only a percentage difference?
0.790. We are less than, we are more than one full police officer per 1,000 residents, understaffed as it stands, as compared to the national average.
So you're saying that the homes have increased, and therefore you need more police officers.
Homes have increased.
Well, if crime has gone down, and you're saying for the population, it must have increased, so therefore there's more homes in the area that have been built, and where is all that money going to?
Crime statistically has gone down. Violent crime has gone down, and I would attribute that to the job that the police officers do in this community. But I will tell you that the workload, the calls for service has actually gone up. We don't, I tell young police officers this all the time, we don't just fight crime. There are calls for service that we respond to. Our actual workload, number of calls for service has increased, while the number of cases that our detectives investigate have remained constant at roughly 2,000 cases per year, when previously there were 14 detectives assigned to that detective bureau. Today there are 4.
Okay, thank you. What is the pension? How much of the pension is going out from this amount that they're asking for?
Well, the special assessment district?
Yes.
There isn't. This isn't for the pension.
No
This is
pension.
Current employees that we're hiring, it'll be their 401k and retiree healthcare savings account was factored into that cost, because that's an annual thing, but there is nothing for pensions because the pension system's closed.
Okay. Now, you had said earlier that it was on the front of the ballot. No, it was on the back. And it was not on the front. And in fact, I had a friend who I said, did you look on the back of the ballot? And she said no. And she came back to City Hall and said, I want to void what I voted. And then she got a new ballot. And sure enough, she looked at the back. And there it was. So a lot of people did not see it because I talked to some of my neighbors and they said, no, we never knew that that was on the back of the ballots.
It was not on the back of the ballot.
It was on the back.
It was on the front in the 4th column, right at the top, on every ballot. We proved every ballot, and it was on the front.
She had a ballot here right now. I heard that you had ran out of ballots.
No, Waterford did not run out of ballots.
So all the precincts, all the districts that were,
We had ballots left over at every precinct, yes.
okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir?
My name is Michael Simon. I live at 3963 Lakefront Street. Good evening, board, and thank you for everything you do. A couple questions. I went through and I read, as diligently as I could, and I think what I understand is in year 1, we're going to do 0.425 mils, which is 14% of the maximum 2.95 mils for equipment, which would be about $870,000 for equipment. and then the rest of the 6 million is for the other things. Does the plan for the next 12 years say, well, year 3 is a big equipment year? I mean, is the equipment actually staged where you'll say year 2, it's 19% going to be equipment, year 6 will be 40, or are we there yet?
Well, that number there is a minimum amount of money we can spend on the equipment, okay? So the first year, labor costs are less than they are in the fourth year. So again, so there's money, and again, everything's at the lowest it can possibly be at this time. So the first year, and again, the other numbers, you can move them around. You can take them and buy more equipment the first year.
Okay, so I guess just my question is, there's no chart that says it's 14% year 1, it's 22% year 2, it's 6% year 2. So that's going to work itself out as we go along.
We've got what we feel is an educated purchasing list. The one I did, I went 30 years just for fun, you know what I'm saying? And after about 25 years, the numbers got so big it blurred my vision. But the bottom line is, we're looking at doing a list staying within the SAD every year, to purchase more vehicles, to get our vehicles replaced.
So the question on that one that I have is, so let's say there's a year we do 0 equipment purchases. I know there won't be, but just let's say there was. So the maximum that could be levied on us is 2.95 mils or whatever.
Right.
So does that mean in that year, the minimum would be 2.95 less the minimum equipment purchase?
That number is the only one locked in. We could reduce other numbers, but that number stays the same. And again, there won't be any years we don't purchase equipment. There won't be. Like I said, we want to get this. We're replacing them on an annual basis.
Okay. But in reality, if for some reason you didn't buy a piece of equipment during the year,
right,
it could go down to 2.4 something.
Yes.
No, it can't. 4.425 must be spent every year on vehicles. We did this on purpose. During the downturn in the economy, the first thing they stopped buying was the big expensive engines. That's why we're in the spot that we're in right now. So when we set up this special assessment, we set it up so that there would be no choice. That every board from this day forward, as long as the special assessment is in effect, would have to adhere to that purchase of vehicles. It's an easy thing to say, we won't buy an engine this year, but that problem grows every year thereafter. So we set it up so that there would be a measured, sensible purchase every year of vehicles, so we don't find ourselves in this hole that we're in right now, where every fire truck should probably be replaced right now.
Okay. But as time goes on, it said we may not need as much for maintenance on the buildings, on the old vehicles, as we get more new vehicles. And again, that number could back off from 295, yes, but the 4.425, that's etched in stone, that stays.
Okay, got it. My second question is, does the board know the percentage of property in Waterford that is tax exempt?
Too much?
Well, I'm really concerned about this, and I also want to know about the agricultural exemptions, because as you say, we're pretty much a built-out community, right?
Yep, primarily developed by Township.
So there is no number you can give me that's somewhat close, right?
I don't know as far as churches, schools, government, non-taxable properties. I don't know what the acreage or percentage of it is. No, I don't.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of wetlands in Waterford that's not taxable too. So it just has no taxable value.
So is there a list of tax exempt properties and agricultural exemptions that I can either look at on the internet or come into the office and examine?
You could come into the assessor's office, yes, they could furnish it.
And do I need to make an appointment or?
I would call ahead of time, just give them time to put it together.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very
sir.
much.
Yes, sir.
Errol Boone, 412 Sawyer, to answer this question about taxes on properties.
Sir, you speak to the board, you don't address it.
He can question, okay. We have many lakes, many lakefront associations, many outlots. Those outlots are tax exempt because we pay more for our properties if we're in a homeowners association. So there's a big percentage of tax on properties right there with their outlots.
Yes, sir?
Robert Pletz, 5724 Shetland Way. Good evening. Something on my glasses. I have a brief statement I'd like to read here. This past spring, a bond millage for the Waterford Police and Fire Departments was due to expire. This millage was continued to fund Waterford Recreation with no, and I repeat, no increase in taxes. This August, the township placed a millage increase on the ballot for Waterford Police and Fire, which results in a significant property tax increase. A fair and proper action for the board would be to rescind the bond millage retroactively in light of the new millage for the police and fire department. And after careful consideration and an adequate detailed plan, the board could propose a new millage for recreation that would result in a tax increase. Alternatives could include using closed schools, empty mall buildings, and others. I'd like the board to respond to the continued increase from the spring millage.
That wasn't a spring millage, that was a bond.
Okay, it was a bond millage.
We're in our cap in millage, Waterford Township Mechanics.
Okay, but the bond millage was not continued.
It was just a bond, yep. No, but it was over, it was paid off. It was paid off in the winter tax bills. That was 0.65 mils for the police, and the police headquarters now in Fire Station 1 at Hatchery and Crescent Lake Road. That was the bond that was proposed to pay for those two buildings.
Now, that 6.5 mil, was that a continued tax?
0.65.
0.65 mil, was that a continued tax?
That was for 20 years, yes, sir.
And that's going to be continued on property tax for 20 years?
No, sir, it's expired.
I'm mistaken, there's no...
It's paid off, it got paid off in the winter tax bill.
But what is used to fund the recreation department?
That's proposed, that's just a proposal, it hasn't gone on the ballot yet.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
It's the next election.
Well, at least
Yes, sir, you're on deck.
I didn't think we were...
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. If you'll pardon me for a second. First of all, before I get into any of my questions, my name is Sam Wedding. I live at 362 Riviera Terrace. As everyone knows in Waterford, we had a fun little time here just the other day, and so I'd like to thank Chief Underwood and all your staff. You've been across the street to my neighbor's house for no other reason than to help him out. So, as someone who was vehemently opposed to this special assessment district, I was very happy to vote yes. And that was not for anything other than the citizens here, listening to the board meetings, watching them online when I couldn't attend. There were citizens here that swayed my vote. No one else here, there was nothing else involved. It was simply just a citizen that had a very well thought out, educated view that was not mine that turned me to that. So I'd like to thank him. He knows who he is. So first thing is as a small business owner myself, I know sometimes we come up with surpluses. I just want to know where do the surplus funds go, and what protocols are in place to ensure that all those funds are used for the police and the fire departments?
Well, surplus funds, again, out of the general fund, we're required to have a fund balance. For the police departments, we're required to have a fund balance. Fire departments required to have a fund balance. It's supposed to be 16.67, so just say 17%, that's supposed to be minimum. That's what they suggest. You can stay functional for 60 days. If revenues stop coming in, you can stay functional for 60 additional days. And that's where you're supposed to be at, okay? But the additional revenues from this, there'll be no additional revenues going anywhere but into the police and fire departments for what it's proposed for. Manpower, equipment, apparatus, equipment, maintenance on our existing vehicles, buildings, and infrastructure.
Okay, and again, that goes right back to my second part of that. So what protocols are in place to ensure that that happens?
in regards to?
That money being spent. I mean, I know we can say it, but are there protocols or a set of guidelines in place that says it has to do this?
But what it's proposed for?
Yes.
Yeah, and that budget, yeah, we as a board make sure it gets spent. Yes, sir.
Fantastic. The funds also, will there be, will any of our part-time people be promoted to full-time using these funds as well? Or police and fire?
As a result of this, yes, we have changed our hiring practices over the last 2 years where we hire part-time and full-time people off the same list. So as we hire full-time and part-time people, when those full-time positions become available, we like to, the reason we do that is because we want to move part-time people into full-time jobs. And then we will hire another part-time person to fill that part-time job that person is vacating. So the answer is yes. In our case, all of our part-time people that are interested in full-time work will be elevated to full-time positions.
Fire. We as a fire, we do not have, we have one part-time employee, and that's a mechanic.
Okay.
So he'll stay as a part-time employee.
And I'm sorry if this was already addressed, I didn't hear it as I was trying to type some questions I had. The information we're talking about now and the breakdown of where these funds are going to go, will this be available to the citizens of Waterford?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
When the budget's finally adopted for 2019, then it will be public.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's John Molitor. I live on Hillcliff Street, 244. I don't claim to know too much about what else is going on. I'm not as informed as I should be. I'm sure the money's going to be hopefully well spent. And I'd like to see Waterford have the best fire and police department we can afford, especially if it's my house right now. I just hope the police department, with additional money, doesn't come up with some superfluous programs like extra seatbelt checks or Waymaster that we don't need. I hope the money goes for police officers that patrol the street and try to prevent crime. And I just have one other comment. It says in this notice I received in the mail that if, after the public hearing, the Board of Trustees creates a special assessment, I mean, I think it's a done deal for this year anyway. And I don't see, if it's $6 million a year, I don't see where they're ever going to not need that money. So that comes to 70-some million over 12 years.
6 and 12,
I mean, do you foresee them coming in under the 6 million, or the board, saying no, we're not going to give it to them?
Like I said, we did projections out. Maybe I was bored. I went out 30 years on projections for purchasing. This is purchasing vehicles and equipment. I just did, I'm doing projections again. Who knows what the economy is going to like 5 years from now, let alone 30. But again, each year we will reevaluate it, and I'm not just going to let people spend money that we've got.
Okay, because otherwise, I mean, what's the point? Just give them $72 million over 12 years. No sense of people coming here. I mean, this is a done deal.
It will be reevaluated. It has to be reevaluated. If there's not an option, it has to be reevaluated.
Yeah, but every year they're going to reevaluate it. They're still going to give them the money.
Well,
I don't foresee you guys turning them down.
Well, again, like I said, yeah. Thanks to my wife, I perfected the word. I told these people the last 2 years he's come to budget time. My request both years, he get 10 out of 10 no's. It's just if you don't have it, we don't spend it. And because we got it doesn't mean we're going to spend it. Okay?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Anybody else after her? You're smiling nice. You're on that.
Hello, my name is Peggy Simon. I live at 3963 Lakefront Street. And I just want to be sure, you hear your citizens, your taxpayers saying that this is a painful thing for a lot of people, and I know the vote was quite close. And so I just want to ask you to not keep taxing us, because I know you're saying that you taxed us out on certain things, on millages. And so now to be calling them something else, it just seems a little painful, okay? You were saying that the pension system is closed to what, all public servants in Waterford, is that right?
The old pension system is closed, correct?
Okay, and when did it close?
14 was last year?
2012 pension system.
Fire, the last was 14 or 15? 15 for police. That was the last bargaining unit for it to close out was police.
Okay, because as in most public sector situations, a lot of times the legacy costs of retirement, benefits, the health care is a huge cost. And so can you give me a percentage of what overall, all the things that you tax us on, percentage goes to people who no longer work in Waterford?
I've never broke that out before, what the retired, Margaret, do you have those numbers for retired health care? Mention what the annual contribution is?
Direct the police and fire last year was about 2.8 million.
2.8 million?
That's correct.
Went into the pension system. Police and fire?
Pension system is about 92% funded as we speak today.
Okay. General employees 101% funded, and
675,000 into that.
675,000 went into that. So a little over 3 million.
And there's nothing we can do about that, is that right?
Well, you work your entire career with a guarantee that you're going to get a pension and stuff. It's, like I said, I think that's something you need to honor.
I'm not arguing it. Well, how long do you have to work in Waterford for
Most groups is 25-year minimum.
Police and fire is 25 years minimum, up to 32 years you can work.
Okay, all right. So just, I don't want to beat this anymore, but the trucks all live in Waterford and they go up into Pontiac.
So that is wrong. We have 9 stations. We have
Okay.
5 staff fire stations in Waterford Township, and we have 4 staff fire stations in Pontiac.
Okay, so.
We have 13 firefighters a day that are assigned to Pontiac, that is paid through Pontiac contract.
Okay.
And then the remainder of the staffing is in Waterford Township.
Okay.
So you know, when we inherited Pontiac, we inherited their trucks too.
Okay.
EMS rates.
I don't have a problem with it at all. I mean, I think if it's working well to share employees, then that's a good thing. I was just curious because it kind of sounded like that the trucks were all here and they had to go up into Pontiac, but I guess that would take too much time.
So to help ease your concern about that is that there are stations that are Pontiac stations that cross into Waterford daily on a regular basis, and there are stations that will go into Pontiac on a regular daily basis. But we definitely have gained some coverage to our Walton Boulevard corridor and Telegraph Road, and also the someplace mall area. That area right there is greatly improved. It's one of our busiest areas, our Station 3 in Waterford. Station 9 Pontiac comes to that area a lot to help out.
And the one station in Pontiac just around the corner from Lake Angeles too, so that's a hop, skip, and they're coming to there. So.
That's correct, it actually almost comes.
Okay, and the last thing I want to say is to Chief Underwood, in that I ride a bicycle here in Waterford, and it's the most uncomfortable place for me to ride a bike. I ride a bike all over Detroit and above, and I find that the citizens are not happy to see me, and I was really glad to see the new law pass, where we at least got 3 feet, because my son was knocked off, his sideswiped many years before you came by a Waterford policeman who said that my son was on the wrong side of the white line, and which he was not informed. A bike can ride to the left of the white line. You could have the whole lane if you wanted to. But I just wanted to assure that the police officers, do they get some kind of continuing education? So they receive a bulletin, like an email or something?
We get notified of much in the state, we issue training bulletins that are part of the network.
And how do you know if they internalized it? I'm not trying to be facetious. I mean, we all get a lot of bulletins and notices, and
we also have a 24-hour training block mandatory every year where we include different, some of the mandatory training, firearms, defense, tactics, things like that, and we'll also include other things that are up-to-date or current, address both in person or online. We also have an online training platform where they'll view the material and then they'll
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rebecca Lighting, 362 Riviera. Again, like my husband stated, we had quite an incident on Riviera last week, so thank you very much. Oh, sorry, we had a good incident on Riviera. That was the first crime I've seen in Waterford, living here 42 years. So I was pretty impressed. I've always felt safe. I've never had an issue. I was adamantly against this. Oh, sorry.
There you go.
I was against this too, as much as my husband, but I listened to what people had to say at the last meeting and what it would break down to per day to feel safe again in my home. And that was super important. I always have. My parents are here. My family's here. My grandfather was fire chief of Waterford. A lot of police family. A lot of board family. So I just put all my faith in all of you to please keep us safe. I love it here. I never want to leave here. And I just want to trust all of you to put this to good use so we can all be safe.
Nor do we ever want you to leave, so feelings neutral. Thank you. Next. Yes, sir?
Al Margowitz, I live at 3153 Woodville Drive. And my question, I know I missed the first hour because I forgot it was started at 6 o'clock. But I guess in the question of this $3 million a year that came up, and it seems like a lot of money. Curiosity is, what does it cost for a new engine truck?
So that's a multi-question there. So a ladder truck, to replace one of our 100-foot aerial trucks, is about $1.2 to $1.3 million. One of our rescue trucks or ambulances is roughly $200,000. Chief and I have changed the way we're purchasing those. We're hoping to lower that down to about $150,000. And a fire truck is anywhere from $400,000 upwards to $800,000. The trucks we're currently purchasing are $450,000.
Okay, how much are you spending on the trucks next year to replace those trucks? How much money?
Depending on what is approved in front of the board, we're looking at 1.3 million in vehicles.
Okay, that's for the fire department.
That's the fire department alone, yes, sir.
Okay, what about the police department?
$148,000.
That's all. That's cheaper.
Police cars are way cheaper than fire. They're a lot smaller, right? Don't get as many people though, right?
Okay, so that's, how many are you gonna get?
We're gonna get four.
4 of them, so 600,000.
No, $148,000 for four.
Oh, for 4? God, why don't you get 10? For you. Okay, so that still leaves a lot over for the $3 million a year to be spent on other things. So if you have, for an officer and the police guys you're gonna hire, you already had a budget of apparently almost $6 million already for everything. Now this is like another $3 million. Okay. So how much of that money is for 9 people? Just for per year that's gonna come out of that $3 million to take care of their salaries?
Just the payroll and benefits equals about a little over $1.1 million
For 9 people. So if you add up everything you guys just said, you got about $1 million left, right?
No, there are other costs that are associated with the building maintenance, ongoing maintenance improvements, equipment, other equipment upgrades and additions. They're built into the police and fire vehicles equipment.
Okay, are you building any new buildings this money? I'm glad to hear that. That's what I was wondering about. What are you doing to improve? I understand some of the fire stations are going to be improved.
That's correct. We have parking lot issues that need to be maintained, roofing issues, HVAC issues that need to be addressed, all the way up from some simple remodel jobs to make it a better place to look at.
What about the station that's on Williams Lake Road? I mean Williams Lake Road there. On the other side, east side of Dixie. Isn't there one on the left side there?
You are you talking Station 4 Lansdowne and Williams Lake?
I think so.
That currently is a 2-man station. We'd like to make it a 4-man station, but it's not designed to hold.
So you can make it buildable bigger?
I would love to, but I don't know if, our priority right now is equipment. I mean, our capital needs for equipment is so grand, I don't know if that's even.
How long does it take you to purchase it and receive this new equipment?
A car could be within 8 weeks. If you're ordering like a staff vehicle, an ambulance, it could be anywhere between 90 days to 6 months. A fire truck, the last 2 that we ordered was almost a year and 4 months to get them, because one of the problems that we're facing when you're buying equipment is that everybody did exactly what Watford Township did. They got into this financial crisis back in 2010. They were hurting. Now communities are starting to do exactly what Watford has done, increase millages, SADs, or other funding sources. So there's a huge draw to buy trucks. So it's kind of getting mine. As soon as you get that check and sign, Gary Wall can sign the purchase order, you're looking at wherever they can place you on list. It could be it's a 6 to 8 month build time just to build it. They start.
Are those under bids, or there's only one company you can buy this stuff from?
We use what's called HGAC as a government pricing. It's an actual corporation that actually sits down and goes through guarantees and good government pricing. No, they actually, it's an incredible, saved us an incredible amount of money. Yes.
Well, see, that's unusual.
Yeah.
It's just, sometimes we also piggyback with other communities and go ahead and buy like 6 or 8 fire rigs at a time and get a better price too. So you can talk to Independence Township, talk to White Lake Township, West Bloomfield Township, Auburn Hills. You guys buy any new rigs, yep, so are we, and go in and you get better. It's like 3 or 4% on the vehicle, that's a lot of money.
What the police cars we buy either through the state cooperative bidding or Oakland County or other counties, they've already done the work and probably fit that stuff and buy it at a reduced price.
I just hope there's, with all this budget now and more officers, and I live on Whitfield Drive there, and it's a speedway down there, so I hope you guys can make a lot of money catching the speeders and going down that street. And they can sit in my drive and catch them, I don't care. Kids almost got hit a couple times already.
So police cars sitting in your drive, people who pull over, odds are your windows and you get smashed out of it.
I don't, believe me, I don't care if somebody doesn't get hurt, okay? I mean, it's really bad. Okay, 40, 50 miles an hour down to 25 miles zone.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am in the red, you're next. 4, 3.
Yes, Wigan. I'm responding to the young lady that said that the question to the fire and the police was on the back. We also voted on the back. My husband said to me in the next vote, and next to me, he said, don't forget the question on the back. And we voted in precinct 10. So is there a problem that we did not have the same ballots as everybody else? Because I heard everybody in the room say it's on the front.
I said, I can't speak for everybody else, I only got one. I got a sample ballot when, we fed it into the machines to see, do
But
the
is
count.
is ours being counted? That's on the back.
Ma'am, all of the ballots for all of the precincts in Waterford Township had the proposal on the front.
But we didn't.
The only thing that was on the back of the ballot were precinct delegates. I'll be happy to show you sample ballots for every precinct because it was on the front of every.
We were told when we signed in, make sure you answer the question on the back.
Yes, you should, but it wasn't the proposal.
Miss,
It wasn't.
the absentee ballot didn't have.
Please. Like I said, I had
In
one.
fact, I can tell you, your sample ballots are available online. Right now, you can go to our website and you can look at your ballot and you'll see it's on the front. Nobody had a proposal on the back of this ballot. I guarantee it.
Love the police and fire. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You follow her, sir.
Thank you. My name is Colette Bersani, and I'm actually on the agenda, but since the meeting's going late, is it okay if I speak now? Or do I have to wait till I'm on the agenda?
Yeah, sure, right, speaking of public hearing, but you wanted more than 3 minutes, so that would be, you'll be where you're at on the agenda. Yep.
So I have to go sit down.
You don't have to go sit down, you can talk for 3 minutes and then back out.
No, I'll take my extra 3 minutes, so.
Oh, okay, well, sir.
My name is Jacob Hyde. I just had some dental work, so I apologize for the lisp. Still numb. I am a registered farmer in Waterford. I have agricultural property. It's some wetlands off Reed Drive. I'm an attorney. I've done a little research and writing on real property exemptions. I'm glad to know that this tax won't apply to me because I did not have an uncapping of my property transfer because it's agriculturally exempt. With respect to the ballots, the sample ballot, I think there's a misconception. The sample ballot is not identical to what you see when you go to the polling station. I know this because when I looked at the sample ballot, I wrote down in exactly the order, numerically, who I was voting for. Texted it to my wife, she did her own research, took my information, and when she compared it to the ballot, it was not the same order. It was on the back. I am certain of that, for my ballot. Okay. I am concerned that we would be paying more taxes. I own 4 parcels in Waterford. And so I lodged my objection and echo Mr. McCleary for his statements. I do think it is unconstitutional. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Good evening. I just want to take a minute to go on the record. My name is Janet Burke. I live at 2128 Glenshire Lane. I am the property owner with my husband, Dan Weller. And I have great respect for the police and the fire. And I still want to voice my objection to the special assessment district and the amount of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Kate Conley, on Barker Drive. Maybe you've answered some of these and I wasn't paying close enough attention. One of the things I wanted to find out, you said that Pontiac and Lake Angeles is paying their fair share. What is that fair share?
Well, they're both under contracts, okay? What's Lake Angeles contract this year, Matt? 230,000?
231,525.
231,525, and Pontiac will be, is that for 19 or is that for 18?
2019 will be 231,525 for Lake Angeles, and Pontiac for 2019 will be 7.5 million and 40,000.
Okay. How many calls a year to Lake Angeles do we have last year? 30?
It was 39.
39, okay, 39.
Pontiac about 4,500, Waterford about 7,500.
We just do fire and Pontiac, we don't do EMS. In the Pontiac contract's 7.1 million?
No, 7.5 million for 2019. 7 almost 7.2 for
7.84 or something this year, okay.
And the bond we just got through paying for on our taxes, what did that bond go?
That was police and fire buildings, Station 1 for fire, hatchery and Crescent Lake Road, and police headquarters.
And what did they do with that money from that bond? Station 1, where's that?
Crescent and hatchery,
Okay.
Station 1. And the police headquarters right there on campus. They took the money from the bond to pay for the construction, the cost of the building those buildings.
Okay. I guess that's all I have.
Okay.
Are any of the tax dollars we're paying right now, is there money in there for fire and police buried in our tax statements that we now have?
No, not buried, we showed that the transfer is in the general fund taxes. We showed earlier tonight what the taxes were, what goes to general fund to police and general fund to fire.
And what was that? How much was that? So it is on our current tax bill, they are getting fire and
Yes.
police money.
Yeah,
Yes, they're
your
getting
fire and
mileage.
police villages are on there, correct, yep, and that all goes to fire goes to fire, police goes to police. And then out of our regular taxes that we pay, general fund transfer for police, 4,885,000, and for fire, it's $1,617,500. Thank you. Yes, sir?
Question. Bring up how many times throughout you have 4,500, 45,000 to Pontiac. That's a lot of wear and tear on a truck. What happens when that truck there isn't able to work anymore? Are we paying for a new truck for Pontiac, servicing Pontiac and these other areas?
Currently, the vehicles that we purchase from this will be for Waterford Township.
I heard you before, but I'm just saying, what happens when their truck that you're servicing Pontiac is worn out? Who buys their truck?
Like Matt said earlier, every year from the Pontiac Fire contract, we set money aside. Okay, we set money aside. We just bought 2 new trucks last year, Waterford Township, and we took some of the money from that savings account went to that. So technically, part of that money that was taken from the Pontiac contract and set aside went to help buy one of those trucks.
Okay, wasn't that money that they were giving us under contract to pay for the salaries and everything else of the fire people and police also?
No, not police. This,
Okay, I'm
we
sorry,
have-
just
we
fire.
have Fire
Just fire.
contract, the city of Pontiac. I wasn't in on the negotiations of that contract. I wasn't. I've read the contract before, and again, it was for fire services, and it was 6.2 million years 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then year 5, then there's a 5% multiplier. The first year it was $284,167 because we got 11 months, not 12, because we started February 1st. From that point on, it's 12 months.
So is this $6.2 million you're talking about for the total amount of time? So I would divide that into each year.
That's 1 year.
1 year?
1 year.
So, then I can speak to that, Supervisor Wall. 2018, it was 7.2 million, it's about 25,000 less than 7.2 million. In 2019, it'll be $7,536,000. In 2020, it's going to be $7,900,129,450. 2021 will be 8.3 million, and then in 2022.
So does that cover all the salaries and any new truck that's required, that no money has to come out of Waterford?
Yes, it does.
Okay. That does, like I said, and we created a savings plan.
Okay.
They said from Pontiac to help purchase vehicles, but the vehicles on the SAD, that has to be sent on Waterford Township. That's where the revenue is generated, and it says it has to be spent in Waterford Township.
I understand you have to spend in Waterford, but the idea is, then can it be used in these other areas?
No, and as Supervisor Wall had stated, it doesn't need to be because of the money that Pontiac gives us yearly from our contract. We're able to take enough of that and set it aside for their.
That's what it sounded like. Okay, thank you.
And another thing I want the public know, not trying to be secretive, we have mutual aid with several other fire departments. And again, when there's a real bad fire or a real bad situation, all their EMS rates are out, we go back those municipalities up. We're not talking about Waterford residents now, we're talking about human beings.
Right.
Okay? We do mutual aid with others. So you may see a fire truck in Independence Township, West Bloomfield Township, White Lake Township, Auburn Hills. You may see a fire truck for mutual aid, but then you may see one of the rigs here in Waterford.
Yeah, I just saw a Pontiac fire region coming this way from near Troy.
There are no Pontiac fire engines. They all say Waterford Regional Fire.
Well, I'm in Waterford.
Yep. Thank you.
Goes back, of course.
Next. Yes, sir. Is there anybody else after him?
Dan Wigan. Just one more question about this election ballot, because I'm concerned. There's really a discrepancy here about those ballots. Are they still available where we could see if some of them had the provision on the back? And if there were, how many of those were completed, how many were not completed? Is that possible?
Right now, the ballots are under seal. There's a period of time that they have to stay that way. Once the ballots can be released, it would have to be under a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request, come in. You would not be able to touch the ballot, so someone would have to sit with you and flip through each ballot. You would have to pay for that person's time to do it.
Do we know how many ballots were cast?
We do, I just don't know the number off the top of my head.
It's about 15,000, 8,004, 7,000. Approximately. I'll give you the exact numbers if you want.
She has the exact numbers.
You want the numbers? Yes.
He does.
Just curious as to how many, and if you know how many votes it passed by.
1,119 votes. 53.5% to 46.5%.
Thank you.
You want me to tell you the numbers? Yep, I have them right here.
Okay.
8,433 for, 7,314 against. So it's close.
So how long do those ballots got to stay on ice before you can touch them?
2 months.
2 months? That's state law?
Yes, it is.
Okay, is there anybody else?
Jacob High here again. I just have one additional question. In 2012, Waterford Police arrested a young lady for busking, playing a musical instrument on a street corner wearing a bikini. She was arrested for begging, which was an unconstitutional arrest in the city of Waterford, according to my Freedom of Information Act.
Township of Waterford.
Sorry, Township of Waterford. Gave her $20,344 in settlement. Recently, we've had a black eye. We're in the national news again. Is this money going to go toward additional training for our police officers so that they do not abuse their power?
As Chief Underwood said, we're going to do continued education and new training. And again, we hope that when we make mistakes, we learn out the mistakes. And it's been my lifetime experience that people that don't make mistakes are people that never did anything. So again, people doing things, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Yeah, we got a black eye the other day. We did. We got a black eye. We, the Township of Waterford, which is its residents, businesses, electeds, everything. We got a black eye out of it. Yeah, we do continue to face. In fact, there's a new policy in place like that. It was addressed immediately. Unfortunately, it had to come to what it came to, but when it did, it was addressed immediately. Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else? Yeah, we let some other people come up. You can come up one more time. Come on.
What about the millage in November, CIA building?
That won't be a millage, that will be a bond.
A bond.
Yeah.
I talked to people from the center, they said it's not gonna cost us any money, is that true?
I haven't seen the final projected numbers on that, but we hope to go off at 0.65 mils, but we gotta crunch them. We gotta crunch the numbers one more time. It could go up to point, I think, the numbers I saw even at the election, it could go up to 0.84 mils. It closed at 0.65.
In other words,
Last year it was 0.69, it closed at 0.65 mils.
now where's the new building going up at?
Right behind Town Hall here, right on the lake, right on Clam Lake. There's soccer fields right now.
How much is it gonna cost to move the soccer field over?
That's all factored into the cost.
So it's not gonna cost us any extra money for that,
What's that?
to move it?
Well, whatever the final price is, we haven't crunched the final number.
But you're not gonna sock it to the taxpayers, are you?
What's that?
Extra money for moving everything. What's gonna happen when the CIA goes to properties and the buildings on now?
That building has to be sold, and the revenues from that has to go back in to pay down the bond and the new community center.
Okay, but it's gonna be moved over here behind the police station.
No, right straight out from Town Hall.
Okay, well,
Yep.
I'll be here anyways.
There's a town hall on September 13th regarding this.
Okay, I'll be here.
At the Waterford Rec Center.
And in other words, our taxes could go up again.
.19 mils, it could spike a little bit from what it closed out at, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
That's my question.
Spike a little bit, yep. Yes, ma'am?
I was wondering if I may have my 3 minutes before everyone else in the room leaves, and I'm going to be speaking on the subject of the SAD. So, am I
Sure.
Yeah, just because time. Okay. So, although I know you've given people a lot more than 3 minutes, so you've been gracious. So my name is Colette Bersati, and I want to say thanks for letting me speak. I believe that, like the gentleman in the purple shirt, who I would have loved to have caught his name, this is against the Michigan Constitution. And I do want to get the name of our attorney. So if anyone can give me the name of our attorney, who I believe gave you the advice that this was okay for you to put on the special election. So what is the name of our
It wasn't a special election, it was a regular gubernatorial primary. It was not a special
We
election.
call it SAD.
It was a special election, it wasn't.
Special Election District.
That the taxpayers would have to pay.
Special assessment district held during a primary.
Very good. Well, I believe that's unconstitutional, so that's what we hope to explore. So what is the name of our attorney?
My name's Gary O'Brien, and I'm over here.
Okay, I know your daughter. I know, that's why you advised them that they could put it on the ballot. So I believe that there are a lot of people in the room that at least, I hope that you, in this meeting tonight, can have a vote that I think we need to call your ballots into question. I do believe, not we as citizens, you, with we as citizens looking over your shoulder, you have a lot of questions about this issue being on the back and not. So I think that's important. So I hope you take a vote here tonight to examine those ballots. We've been trying, there's been a small group of people that have been trying to stop this from getting on the ballot because they believe it was against the Constitution. And they feel that the primary election is not the time for the vote that you had. And I know you give your reasons, Mr. Walsh explained them to me. So, and there are many people, of course, who are against taxing the homeowners in Waterford versus Lake Angeles. Many people believe that the legislature was very clear, and they feel very clearly that you did not follow the law. It states clearly in the Michigan Constitution that a vote for or against a special assessment district must occur, I'm reading this, from a general election or a special election called for that purpose. And you see, just as you stated, this was not a special election called for that purpose. It was in fact the primary. The legislature did include voting in a special assessment district at a primary election. So no doubt the legislature was very concerned about a vote occurring. And what we know is historically a low turnout election. So here the township did not call for a special election for the purpose of establishing an SAD. A little technicality, but I think you goofed there. Its resolution did not so alert the citizens that the election was, in fact, a special election for the purpose of establishing an SAD. Here's what the special assessment law reads, and I'll let you, the lawyer, can look it up. MCL 41.801 with the number 3 in parentheses. And it's quite long, so I don't want to read all that too much, but the question of raising money by special assessment may be submitted to the electors. And it's basically saying you're not allowed to do it. So I'm hoping that you, as a group, as a body of elected officials, and you, my police officers and my firemen, particularly my police officers, because I found it very scary when elected officials and law enforcement have at all the conscience that they might be above the law. So I don't think you want to make people feel that you're above the law or the law doesn't apply to you. So I believe it merits ferreting it out, investigating it further. And I believe any citizens that are in the room, I hope you will see me. This is why I asked you to let me speak before everyone left. at the end of the room, and if you want to further investigate it, I need to know who you are, whether you're for it or against, and I'll give you the information that I have. I think that's all we need. And I want to encourage everyone here, I thank you as elected officials. You're staying late, I know. I thank you. I thank all the people that are here saying no. It is vitally important as a country, as a state, as a beautiful town that Waterford is. And I've only lived here part-time for 3 years. That's a known fact. It is vital that, there's a very famous saying that all that is necessary for evil to exist is for good men and women to do nothing. We're doing something, and we're doing it nice and peaceful, and that's what I want. I don't want to be your enemy, you're my neighbor. I want to see you at the grocery store. I want to go to the Meals on Wheels thing and the Waterford eating things. I'm here to enjoy life. But this is very important, and I know, Mr. Wall, you've given reasons why you had to have it in August, but it was incorrect. And I believe, you can confirm, I was not here, but a number of years ago, there was a different supervisor, different people on the council, and their attorney, not this one, said, in fact, sorry, no, can't do, you can't put it on, you'll have to put it in November, and it failed. So now you try it again. So I believe you're gonna have to go back to square one. I hope you don't make a small body of people have to create an injunction. I believe it'll probably go to the Michigan Supreme Court. I don't really want that. So I think you have two issues at hand. You better look at those ballots, front, back, and forward. Do not charge us, the taxpayers of the town, whatever we have to pay for the person. I think there's enough people called into question here that have given their time freely. So I hope you'll do that. And I do have a little homework assignment for everyone. Since this is the beginning of the school year, I want you to all take notes, put it in your cell phone. I want you to read a book. It's a small book of short stories. I had a girlfriend tell me. The name of the book is All the Light We Cannot See. It's 2 stories about children long ago during World War II. It's about a boy and a girl. So I leave you with that, and give me a call if I can help collect your zoning. Thanks. I'll take a little more after my 3 minutes after the meeting.
Attorney, go.
I'll give you my phone number. It kind of tells 602, that's a Phoenix, Arizona cell phone, 750-3233. And I'm happy to talk in a polite manner to anyone. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The issue Ms. Rosati raised about this.
Go. Bring the mic up so the.
This not having been on a ballot on the August primary was addressed initially in an email to Mr. Wall when someone else raised the same issue. And it was then addressed in an email that went to people at the county who were being asked to look into it. My opinion was not that long. This was June 7th. Since I serve as general counsel for the Sheriff Township of Waterford, this email is in response to Lisa Plunkett's 2:20 p.m. email today regarding this subject. Disagree with Ms. Plunkett's contention, which, while actively describing the statutory definition of the general election, omits to address the statutory definition of a special election. In relevant part, MCL 168.4 parent F defines a special election as an election to submit a ballot question to the electors with the definition of election in MCL 168.2E, including a primary election at which electors of a subdivision of this state decide a ballot question lawfully submitted to them. The response I got from the Director of Elections of Oakland County was very short. You are exactly right. I have no concerns, and I do not share Mr. Rosati's opinion on that.
All right, thank you, sir. So the public understands, we went to great lengths to research everything before the start. Like I said, started on it full bore in February, to great lengths to make sure we were doing everything legally and trying to cover and make sure everything was done right ahead of time rather than after the fact. You know, the old saying, we're all geniuses after the fact. We tried to do this stuff that Mr. Dobry is the Waterford Township's legal counsel. That's who we talked to. He also reached out to Oakland County Elections as a backup to clarify the information that we had, and he just read a couple of verses out of there that pertain to election laws. So again, I'm 64 years old, lived in a larger Township life. I've never screwed anybody out of a penny in my life, and I'm not going to start now as a township supervisor, just not in my makeup. I was raised a little better than that. But I am committed to Waterford Township, and I will be committed to Waterford Township long after I'm gone as your supervisor, because this is what I love this community. It's my family's been here since 1925. So I did everything within my power, and I worked hand in hand with Clerk Camilleri a lot of the time. Kept the board members in the loop on everything. Nothing was secretive, nothing was done behind closed doors. You know, we didn't do anything we weren't supposed to do. We didn't dip into the general fund and steal money to support the special assessment district like some keyboard cowards came out and accused us of doing. We did everything legitimate and on the up and up, okay? My family's been here since 1925. The Wall name is well respected in Waterford Township for a lot of good reasons. And I'm not going to do anything that would ever tarnish that or be a disadvantage to anybody that ever resided or resides in this township. That I can tell you from the bottom of my heart. Again, Attorney Dorby, thank you for clarifying what you clarified earlier when we researched this information. Mr. Wagner.
Vaughn Wagner, 2510 Silverside, Waterford, Michigan. I campaigned for the SID and I voted for the SID. And I'm glad that it passed because I love being able to punch that phone number in and having either the fire or the police department show up at my house. I voted, well, let's put it this way, I've listened to a lot of information tonight. I came to a lot of the meetings that a lot of the citizens here could have been at these meetings that our police chief, our fire chief, and our board put their time into. You can also go on the Waterford Township website and watch the meetings. A lot of questions here were discussed, and they were specifically related to the citizens of Waterford. I voted in Precinct 10. I've been sitting here listening about this ballot. I've got a copy of my ballot in my phone. There's 2 pages in my phone listing, a front and a back. On the front page of the Precinct 10 ballot is a proposal to vote on the special assessment district. And if anybody wants to look at it, I have it right here on my phone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else? Okay. Close this. No, we're closing the special assessment hearing. You're still on the agenda. Closing at 8:25.
If you would give me a little advice here, Attorney Dovry, we have closed the special assessment. What motions are called for at this point?
There's, I provided to the board in 2, and it's based on my reading of the staff. I provided you with a draft resolution to establish police and fire department special assessment district. It contains 3 recitals. The first one simply recites public act number 3, and what it allows the township to do. The second recital indicates what the purpose of the public hearing was, which I summarized at the outset of this meeting. The third recital says that after the public hearing, the township board determined to adopt this resolution. The resolution is pretty straightforward. It is therefore resolved that a police and fire department special assessment district is hereby created with its boundaries to be the boundaries of the Charter Township of Waterford. A motion to adopt that resolution as presented without reading the entire thing would be sufficient.
Thank you. I'll make a motion, first of all, to establish the Police and Fire Department Special Assessment. So we approve the resolution that a Police and Fire Department Special Assessment District is hereby created with its boundaries to be the boundaries of the Charter Township of Waterford.
By adopting the resolution as presented.
By adopting the resolution as presented.
I'll support.
Any further discussion on that? Okay. This is roll call vote, yes it is.
Camilleri, yes. Frasca?
Yes.
Wall?
Yes.
Bartolotta?
No.
Birch?
Yes.
Joette?
Yes.
Thomas?
No.
The motion passes 5-2. The next motion is to,
If I may, the second thing that you need to do if you want to is to determine how much of any of the authorized special assessment to levy. And you've been provided with a draft resolution that would accomplish that. It provides for the full levy of 2.95 mils, but you should not construe that as suggesting any opinion by me that you should do that, need to do that. You may levy any amount or not at all.
okay.
The recitals are again are three in number. The first refers to the statute, the second refers to the purposes of the public hearing. The third says that you adopt the resolution to create the district and establish the boundaries and determine to adopt this resolution. The operative language is therefore resolved that for the 2019 calendar budget year, the Police and Fire Department special assessment to be levied on the December 2018 tax bill shall be at the rate of 2.95 mils. And the Township Supervisor is hereby directed to spread that levy on the taxable value of all real property in the township that is not exempt from property taxes. Appropriate action will be to adopt the resolution as presented if that's your desire as far as that millage rate.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution as presented, establishing the levy for the December 2018 tax bills at 2.95 mils.
Any further comment? Okay, this is a roll call vote.
We didn't get a second.
I'll support.
Now we need a roll call vote.
Joliet?
Yes.
Wall?
Yes.
Frasca?
Yes.
Birch?
Yes.
Bartolotta?
No.
Camilleri? Yes. Thomas?
No.
The motion passes 5-2.
Okay, on to new business. Budget amendment for the Hess Hathaway Park playground repairs. And this does come out of the Parks and Recreation budget, not general fund.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the Hess Hathaway Park playground repairs. That includes materials and installation.
I'll support. Any further discussion? Safety, health, and welfare of our children, utmost importance. Roll call vote.
Birch?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Bartolotta?
Yes.
Joliet?
Yes.
Camilleri? Yes. Frasca?
Yes.
Wall?
Yes.
Sorry, you wait so long.
I don't think I have any questions.
No, you spelled it out very, very well. Good job, Allison. Next up, we have the sewer rate increase recommendation. DPW. Good to see you out and about, Russ.
Well, thank you, sir. Feeling good, just feeling slow.
Welcome to my world. So I'll make a motion that we approve the repair and maintenance of the $6 million gallon concrete reservoir, the Mesa Day tank.
Probably sewer.
Sewer rate, you're wanting it.
Oh, sorry, I have it in the wrong order here.
Sewer rate, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the pass-through of the sewer increase rate that we are being given from the Oakland County Water Resource Commissioner.
Support.
Again, crunching these numbers, help me out here. I was thinking they were talking about a 3 to 4% annual increase, and this is 6.86%.
I have to get my numbers out here, but,
Monthly and annually, it both comes up to 6.86%.
monthly and annually. So what happens here is we're charged basically on our flows.
Right.
So their rate went up at 4.4%, and I believe that our consumption had went up. So our percentage of what Oakland County puts out increased. I believe that's what's happened here, Gary.
You said it was what, 4.4? 4.8?
Overall, I believe it was a 4.4% increase that the Oakland County has passed through to all of the users of the Clinton Oakland sewer disposal system. And our rate, because of their high flows, we are the largest user. I believe it went up, our particular rate, our portion of and you wouldn't believe the formula that they use to calculate these flows, the sewer flows. But our sewer flows, with the increase, we get basically an additional increase. That's how that works out.
4.4 to 6.8, that's better than a 50% hike though. I mean, just, again, and I said we're talking about a legitimate organization, Oakland County.
Well, I tell you,
And the Clinton, the Clinton Oakland, and the OMID, and, if that's something to brag about, we're the biggest contributor to the system, I guess, that's another feather in our hat.
well, and you alluded to, we have the Great Lakes Water Authority, is the old DWSD, the Detroit Water and Sewer District. We flow through there. We flow through the OMID, which is the Oakland Macomb Interceptor Disposal System, and the Clinton Oakland Sewer Disposal System. So we are actually the fourth on the string, so to speak. We have to maintain our system, but as the Great Lakes Water Authority was formed, that was deferred maintenance for how many years? You know, when they're doing projects, they have a single pump station that they're talking $700 million repair to. You know, then when we get down to the OMID, basically we have a $70 million pump station repair that we're going to be doing through the OMID. This is all the deferred maintenance that those larger systems are finally, they're strategically placing themselves in a place in time where they can do the maintenance that without it, we'll see the collapse of another sewer main somewhere and, the $300 million repairs there. So basically what's going on is we're getting down the stream, but as the largest contributor to the Clinton Oakland sewer disposal system, it's kind of, we're seeing the bigger rates. And if you go through, you can see there's other areas where their flows have reduced, and let's see. So other communities will be seeing less rate, and we'll be seeing more because of the distribution of the flows. So overall, yeah, it's like a 4.4% increase, but Waterford's share can be something other than the 4.4% increase. And it's difficult to understand. I'd love to send you the spreadsheet that's about, I don't know, 18 pages long, and it's quite a convoluted formula that they use to come up with this.
And again, like I said, I sat in on those meetings and bit my lip because, like I said, they're the disposal system. That's where it goes to. And it's whatever they tell you costs. And I was not seeing anybody was doing anything dishonest, our flow increased from 4.4 to 6.86. That's a pretty significant jump. But like I said, we're fourth leg on that octopus here, if you want to call it, or quadrupus. That's where we're at.
Well, the Great Lakes Water Authority is committed to a maximum of 4% increase per year. And basically what that equates to is we're never going to see less than a 4% increase as far as I can see. You know, it'll never be more, according to the Great Lakes Water Authority. Right? But that's just one of the entities. You know, the OMID, they're going out and bonding, and thankfully to repair some of these mini system repairs. I mean, they're definitely warranted. But yeah, they're going out to bond. So we're going to see, as in the last page here, we've got bonds coming up in the next 2 years that are going to total another $70 million. Our portion is somewhere around 6.9 million of that. You know, so these increases, I don't see them going away anytime soon. And a real problem that I have with this is we're spending all of these increases where we don't get to do any work on our infrastructure. Our infrastructure, this is just a pass-through. We're not collecting any additional to do our infrastructure repairs. That's something that we are looking at, and we're going to have to, strategically place ourselves in a position where we can take care of our infrastructure as well. But this is just straightforward pass-through, this particular one.
So Russ, you said that the Great Lakes Water Authority would never have a rate increase of more than 4%. But this is 4.4 or 6.8. So that's because of the two other organizations tacking on their expenses on top of the Great Lakes Water Authority.
That is correct. So yeah, we could see our rates from the Clinton Oakland, and that's who we get our final rates from. They could be, the Great Lakes Water 4%, OMID might have 2%, and the Clinton Oakland might have 4% on top of it. So we'd have 10 before we even, we didn't even touch it yet, basically.
Well, the only good part about this is we have our own water system, so we're not subject to these exorbitant increases for our water.
Well, and again, they are exorbitant, but the reality is the water resources have become very prevalent in the state of Michigan as a very high priority. The governor is putting all kinds of, on the water side, well, that's what you hear in the public all the time. It's the lead crisis in Flint. The reality is on the wastewater side, with the PFAS and all of the new regulations, and as I sent to the board, the now with the ability to measure part per trillion, they're coming up with all kinds of new contaminants that need to be regulated. And pharmaceuticals in the wastewater, I mean, there's just, wastewater treatment is just an outrageously high, very expensive process, and very, very necessary. I mean, let's face it, we have the Great Lakes here. We really need to be good stewards of our wastewater. But, we're finding when you're measuring parts per trillion, and that's, as my indication was, an inch. If you measured in parts per trillion, a 1-inch segment on a line that went, 683 times around the earth, that would be 1 part per trillion. I mean, you're really talking some very, very minute numbers here. Inconceivable. nobody can comprehend what they're talking about here. But that's the measures that the DEQ are using now for regulation. So, I mean, it's getting very, very strict. Water quality is extremely important, and it's not going to go away. We can see it for years and years. I guarantee we're going to see a lot more of it.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, Russ, it says a sewer rate increase recommendation. What's the recommendation? To force them down our throats?
Well,
I mean, it's not a recommendation. We go, no, they're still gonna give us the rate increase, so I don't even know why we're discussing it.
what would happen at that point, Tony, and you bring up a very good point, at that point, we have to cut into our fund balance. And as a enterprise fund, we have to be able to operate for so many months without any cash inflow.
So it comes down to one of two things. It comes out of your fund balance or it comes out of the consumer's pocket.
Well, if we're gonna flush our toilets, it's gonna have to come out of the consumer's pocket.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is.
Consumer/user's pocket.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, we really don't have any choice. Like you say, they say, and Great Lakes Water Authority is very good with budget requirements, staffing requirements. They don't have suggestions, they have requirements for their budget, their staffing. I wish we had that. Wouldn't that be a nice option? Hey, we have a staff requirement of X, you know, and we are way below staff. But that's the language that we're dealing with here.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for us?
Ross, you talk about a rate increase. Can you tell people in the audience what dollars and cents are you talking about?
Sure. On the average water bill or sewer bill, ready to serve, which everybody has, is going to increase from $64.95 to $67.85 per quarter. So $1 something a month. Yeah. And on the sewer rate, on the usage, increasing from $3.59 per 100 cubic foot per quarter to $3.72 per 100 cubic foot per quarter to treat. So again, 20 cents per 100 cubic feet. I mean, as far as the residents, it basically comes down to about $5.50 per quarter, or $1.83 per month per resident.
$22 a year.
Yeah, so it isn't significant, but yeah.
It happen every year.
Yeah, we can expect this to happen for quite some time. I mean, I say it's not significant. Any increase is significant. Let's not, say that it's insignificant. But the reality is, when you're looking at what you're getting, the fact that you turn your faucet on and you get potable water and you flush your toilet and all those diseases go away, I mean, that is a service that is priceless. That is the demise of how many civilizations in the world,
But as everything else, it comes at a cost. So
Comes at a cost.
Anybody else have any questions for us? Okay.
I made the motion and the treasurer was supported.
Include the effective date of September 1, 2018, how recommended.
Yeah, I'll amend my motion to include the effective date of September 1st, 2018.
That's a Saturday, does that matter? All set? Yes, sir.
See, the usage is based on overall flow. How do they measure that flow? Sewage or water usage?
It's based on, the county has several interceptors where we deposit, for lack of a term, we flow through the county's interceptors, and they do have meters installed in all of them.
So is that based on water usage?
It is based on sewer flow, not on the water usage. Yep.
But typical water bills about 28%, water sewer bills about 28% water.
It's easily
72%
2%
sewer.
sewer, easily, yeah.
I think it's about 28,
Yeah.
28. Yes, ma'am?
So just to be clear, the consumer, you can't gauge how much the consumer is contributing to the sewage system, right?
The way we do our billing is based on your water flows. So the water meter at your house is how we calculate how many cubic feet of sewage you're using, yes.
And so if you use very little water, though, you still pay a base amount of
Yes,
sewage.
absolutely. It's
So
a ready to serve charge.
you're being frugal or sparing with water doesn't, you're still gonna pay a pretty good amount for sewage.
The ready to serve charge for a sewer and water customer, yeah, it's $67 per month or per quarter.
For the sewage. So you could be paying a lot more for sewage than water.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to be clear about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay. Roll call vote, yes.
Figure out who would pay for this.
Birch. Yes. Thomas.
No.
Cavallari. Yes. Frasca.
Yes.
Wong.
Yes.
Bartlett.
No.
Joliet.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-2.
Okay, next up, repair and maintenance of the 6 million gallon concrete water reservoir. Again, DPW. I see that $94,760.
$94,750.
There you go. It's that time of day when the ice things start to feel.
So I'll make a motion to approve the repair and maintenance of the 6 million gallon concrete reservoir May City tank for an amount of $94,750.
Above those sketches there, which is like stuff I sketch, I was able to read them very clearly. A lot of detailed pictures. We're going back to 1964 when this was built, correct?
I believe that is correct, yes. This is the Mesa Day tank. This is the one on top of the Mesa Day hill with the big flagpole.
Overlooking Dorothy Lane.
Dorothy. Thank you.
They built 2 houses right below it.
Russ, question, how did you come up with DN Tank? They're the second highest bid on it. Why did you pick them?
DNN tank, second lowest bid, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the second highest.
Second highest?
Yes.
Well, as a recommendation of our Dixon Engineering, our engineering firm, all of the bidders had an allowance to use DNN tank for the actual repair of the tension ring, which is the real problem is the tension ring. And the other companies that bid on this are basically painters, and they're not really set up to rig and get in the tank and make these appropriate repairs and do the appropriate, the riggings in a safe manner, so to speak.
So they didn't understand the description when it went out for bid, and
Well-
LC United, $147,000. Were they painting it gold?
Well, and that's interpretation, I guess, you know. DNN tank is, they did a repair on this tank several years ago, where after it was installed, of course, you know, 6 million gallon tank, it settled a little bit, and there was some cracking and so on. DNN tank has been working on this tank for quite some time.
And I understand that you picked them because they know the work, the job that's been done, just I'm curious about the other three companies that bid on it, that you're saying that they really can't do it, they just paint, not repair.
They're more a painting company than a repair company, yes. And
So D&N Tank was basically the only company that was
full service.
the full service that could do the work, the other three just basically.
They would have had to contract with D&N Tank to come in and do the ring repair anyway. And it's,
They would have a contract with D&N Tank and this.
yes, there was.
They went on let them do the whole thing.
There was an allowance in there where D&N was gonna have to do the ring repairs rather than re-rigging and everything. It's just cleaner.
Didn't quite understand it at first.
Well, the July 16, 2018 letter to Dan Stickle, third paragraph says, based upon the qualifications of the contractor, Dixon Engineering recommends award to D&N Tanks who are best suited for the rigging and repairs, and one contractor will complete all repairs. So, and again, I use this as an example. My entire life when people told me my bids were too high, and I said, watch out for low bids. All street and road contracts get built by low bidders in the low condition of our roads and streets. So again, like I said, you gotta look at the whole picture here. And this is, Dixon Engineering spelled it out pretty clearly in their third paragraph, why you should go in that basically it's one-stop shop and you're done. A lot of detail and pictures and drawings and stuff. I mean, it's crystal clear, and you literally, like me, can understand it, so it's got to be clear.
Yes, you put a very thorough package together for this. Thank you.
Thank Mr. Stickle for that.
And this money comes out of the DPW Enterprise Fund?
This is coming out of the water and sewer fund, that's correct. It's a 59045 fund. This is out of our infrastructure preservation. And although it did come in a little bit over budget, I had 50,000 budgeted for this, but other projects that are probably not gonna make the grade this year because of timing and so on, we're gonna do some budget manipulation and go without a budget amendment at this point.
Okay. So the overall budget, there's money in there to fund it?
We should be funded,
Okay,
yes.
good, okay. Any further questions for Russ?
Russ, has D&N Tank done work for us before?
They have.
Who's doing the work over there at, was it Cass Lake Road?
On the gas tank,
Yeah.
that one's all completed now. That was done by Contubas Painting.
They didn't have to do no repairs.
There was
They have to do it basically.
There was a couple of handrails inside the tank that needed to be re-welded and so on, but the majority of that was just blasting and refinishing.
There was only a small amount of repair on the Cass Lake Road
I bet
tank.
you it was just all paint.
It was mostly all painting, sandblasting, and resurfacing.
What
Yep.
company did that one?
That was Contubas, George Contubas Painting Company. Contubas, yeah. Yep.
They didn't bid on this one here though?
They did not.
They did not.
Nope.
Okay, anybody else? That was for Russ. Thank you, Russ. This is a roll call vote.
Birch.
Yes.
Wall.
Yes.
Camilleri. Yes. Julia.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Bartolet.
Yes.
Frasca.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Russ. I'm glad to see you're out and about.
I can just get up to it.
Take your time.
I'm taking lots of that.
Next up, we have a citizen to address support. Alec Rosati.
Thank you. You can all cheer. It's will hopefully be out by 9 o'clock. But thank you for taking time to let me speak again. I actually wanted to ask the police chief a question, but so you're behind me, but hopefully you can hear me. I heard of something that occurred this Thursday to a citizen, actually someone probably under 18. He's a football player for Our Lady of the Lakes, and he played at Wizard Field, which I understand maybe Wizard Field's not in our Waterford Township, right?
I think it's Wisner Stadium.
Wisner Stadium, yeah, Wisner Stadium, right. And while he was on the field playing. He had his cell phone in his backpack, and the backpack was in the locker room. Unfortunately, the locker room was not locked, and when he came within the first quarter to wipe the sweat from his brow, he noticed his cell phone was gone. So he texted his mom and said to his mom, wow, or he used a friend's phone, trying to do the my find my phone thing. They did all these things. The bottom line is the phone was found, and it was found to be on Euclid. I don't know if that's within Waterford's boundaries or not, maybe not, but the Oakland sheriff was contacted. And the bottom line of that story was that the word was no cell phone is worth a life. And they told him, don't go there, don't go find your phone. They had to cancel the phone, but I found it really frustrating that the sheriff of Waterford did not want to go find the phone because the perpetrators were found that the phone was actually on, it lit up like a red light with all the technology. And I just feel that's disappointing. You're taxing us and you're law enforcement and
This
Hold on,
occurred in Pontiac. We never got a call on it.
That's the
I'm
Oakland
saying
County
maybe-
Sheriff's Department, police is Pontiac.
Right.
The crime originated in Pontiac, and that's how it got handled by the Oakland County Sheriff's Department, another top-notch law enforcement agency.
But not top-notch if you're not willing to go get the bad guy. They were laying down and they're not going to go after the perpetrator. They're just like,
The sheriff's office said, we're not doing it.
that's exactly right.
You have to take it up with the sheriff's office
That
in
was
Waterford Township.
Even if you're a citizen of the town of Waterford,
And you
It
can't-
had nothing to do with the police
Right.
department.
but I mean, we're like right on the edge. We share police and fire services.
Oh, we know.
We don't share police.
Well, we share fire, we share input, I mean, we're sharing our ambulances, so
No.
don't you find that frustrating?
They paid for a service for us to supply police. I would find it frustrating, but they actually supply the county with a fee, so they supply the police to Pontiac.
And I find that very frustrating that law enforcement didn't have the courage to go get the perpetrator. How safe is that? Were we aware of
I
this?
can't speak to what happens with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. That was a decision that they made, and like you were told by everybody up there, that was a crime that was committed in Waterford, in Pontiac. It was their response. We, as far as I know, weren't even aware that that happened, and wouldn't normally be aware of something like that happened in the city of Pontiac.
Well, again, it's another example. All that is necessary for evil to persist is for good men to do nothing. And I hope that you as a town and you as a police officer of a next door neighbor law enforcement firm would encourage them to go do the right thing. It couldn't have been easier. There's the phone. It's lit up. It's in that backyard. And law enforcement choose to do nothing. It's a little hard to fathom giving you tax increases of massive proportions when that's the answer. One of your brothers in law enforcement, basically said, not brother per se, but that's just not a good answer.
I'm not sure that they knew it even happened.
No, I don't mind. I don't. But now you do know that it happened, and so
You keep saying law enforcement, and you keep saying that agency. It's the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. The Waterford Police Department didn't have anything to do with that
Oh no,
incident.
I realize that. I'm just wondering.
Had that been our incident, we may have handled it differently, but I can't speak to the incident because I don't know the particulars. So rather than say law enforcement, you should describe them as the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. They were the ones who responded, or in this case, didn't respond.
Okay.
And I would add what Mr. Wall said. They are a great law enforcement agency. They do a great job every day in this county and sometimes even this township when we ask for their help. So the last thing I would do is stand here and badmouth them.
Right. Okay. Well, that incident to me, that was not handled greatly. I would say go get the bad guy. It was probably kids who stole the phone, so if they steal one, then they'll steal another, and what do they steal next? So I think that's really what makes a lot of us uncomfortable. In fact, many of my neighbors were feeling uncomfortable or threatened, like, oh, I want to go speak against police and fire. And I said, you're not speaking against police and fire, you're speaking whether or not it was legally allowed to be on the August primary ballot. That's the main case we put in. And do you plan to sort of review or do an audit of the ballots that have been called into question?
I thought the clerk spelled it out pretty clear, 60 days. And then after 60 days, if that individual that asked wanted to come in, it would come at a cost to review the ballots, but the person, like I said, is treated as a FOIA request. and it comes at a cost.
But 60 days from August, that's September, it's end of October.
Around October
October
7th, I
7th.
would guess, yeah, around October 7th, yeah.
Okay, that's kind of a long time to have to wait, but.
That's not our law.
I understand.
State law.
I understand.
Go talk to Lansing, again, it has nothing to do with local law, it's state law.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. I can address that. The gentleman over here is one ballot out of 15,000. Certainly, we consider several other people in the room said it was not on the front. And so that's only one ballot. We have 15,000. I think the goal would be you should at least do an audit of 10 to 12 or 20%.
It was a sample ballot that everybody could pull off of her site.
Well, but
It was
we
a
just.
ballot you voted on. Yeah, we
Well,
voted.
well, no, I think the problem we're talking about is the sample ballot was not, it's already been brought up. The lawyer in the purple shirt who left the room said the sample ballot is not the same as the ballot. So I don't know, but I
The
think.
sample ballot is the same as the ballot we approved in the ballot that everyone voted on.
But yet there was a gentleman who's an attorney who came here and said it was not true.
You ever known an attorney to be wrong? He used to accuse our
I'm
attorney
actually,
of being wrong
I'm
tonight.
expecting, yes.
So he's
So,
wrong,
you know.
that guy comes out of the
Right.
blue and he's right.
Yeah.
What did your ballot say?
I can't vote here. I'm not registered to vote here. I'm registered to vote in Arizona. And believe me, it's very frustrating because like another gentleman who moved here, I'm paying a huge amount of taxes because A, I'm here, and B, I'm not homesteaded. And I would love to get an agricultural exemption because I have a piece of land right next to my home, a lot, which I pay the huge amount of taxes on. Because it has a
lawyer too.
Pardon? It was a lawyer who was on
The
agriculture.
ballot was wrong, but he gets a tax exemption.
Yeah, but it,
Oh, great.
yeah, but it was on his ballot, and I mean, he's a law-abiding citizen, you are, so I can't.
That's what he said.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
but there's
guess,
15,000 people who voted, so I'd say that would call for, I think, I don't feel that I should have to pay for you to review your ballots. I think you've had enough public commentary here that you as an elected body would want to audit yourselves. And I'll leave you with this thought. In the town of Maricopa, Macomb County, where my father lives, there are 2 elected officials that are going to jail. And I just watched on the news, there's another elected official in Troy also going for jail. So I think it's very important on the part of everyone, law enforcement, everyone working in government, because you put a huge burden on people that don't have government jobs with government pensions and government paychecks. So we're just asking you to be above board. You have the power to call that into question. You've had enough people take time, 3 hours of their time. They're not paid to be here. Are you paid as an elected body? By the way, I did want to ask you.
Well,
Are
yes,
you paid
we're
a
paid.
salary? Well, many places are not.
They're not?
No, many towns, when you're on city or town council, you're not paid anything. It's volunteer. I lived in a town, they weren't paid. It's unpaid to be an elected official in a town of this size. What is your salary? Anyone else? What's public knowledge? What's the salary to be a trust?
I'd have to look up.
It is public knowledge.
But you could tell me, if it's public knowledge, you could tell me right here.
11,900 a year.
How much? 11?
11,900 right now.
11?
10 to 12,000.
That's all trustees are the same regardless of time served in office.
All trustees are part-time, too, not full-time.
Well, of course.
But they take the same oath of office that the full-time people do.
Right. In Arizona, the
They have the
legislature.
same voting authority that the full-time people do. So
Right, that's-
I've heard this from other trustees, and just how they cherry pick, well, I'm only part-time, that's it. Same oath of office, same vote. Full-time, part-time, it don't matter. We
Well,
all
that's
have a
fine.
commitment to the community, and you know what that is when you take the oath of office. If you don't, you should take the oath of office.
Right. And then I wanted to ask some, people in the neighborhood are telling me, also, they tell me when you've been elected to office here as trustee, you're given a pension, and that after serving only 1 year in office, that pension goes on forever. Is that true?
Wrong again. There is no pension.
Misinformed facts this evening.
Well, it's not misinformed. I'm asking
Yes, you
you a
were
question.
misinformed. Yes, you were misinformed. Yes, you
What
were.
part was that
You're making
misinformed?
it, you said that we get a
We did
pension
not get a
after 1
No,
year.
I asked.
There is no
Let me
pension.
see
You were informed.
There's, well, yes, I've had several people tell me that. So, but they were correct in that they said you're paid a salary.
Well, and I've always been a strong spirit. Know your source of information. Always know your source of information. Because somebody says something that doesn't make it factual. Doesn't make it factual.
Well, good. We'll know that we'll probably have to pursue this, and I hope that you'll, if it goes forward, that what you put on the ballot in August was incorrect, we'll probably have to say the same to you as a body, that you need to know your source of information. I mean, we'll know, time will tell, if it was in fact correct. But, believe me, there's a number of people who feel very strongly that it.
And again, people are entitled to their opinion.
Exactly.
We deal with our attorney here. I explained to you, we went through it in great detail. That's what we pay him for, to make sure what we do is done right legally. Okay, legally.
Right. So now, in order for any citizens to go forward, we have to submit a Freedom of Information Act and pull a sampling of the ballots, or we can look at all.
I can see once one person does that, they can go on social media, which I know you're very, very, very familiar with, and they can let you know what the results are. Why would everybody pay for something that one person could accomplish?
All right, that would be fine, but it's very time consuming to look at 15,000 ballots.
I would think that there are probably 25 or 30, and they're all the same. Think, well, okay, you got this.
Right, I would do a sampling. Okay, thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Don't slap her down.
Hi, Law 3450 Alcove Drive. I just want everybody to know, and Sue, you especially, the SAD proposal was on the front of my ballot in precinct 5, so not everybody here had it on the back of their ballot as was stated.
Yes, ma'am.
I would much rather you'd voted that ballot. My condolences.
Sharon Thomas, 2768 Winkleman. I'm just a little puzzled about the alleged large number of people who were against this. We have a huge population in Waterford.
73,434 last count.
And not all of us here were speaking about the same things that this nice lady did. I voted many times, obviously you can see by the color of my hair. If I didn't turn the ballot over, I didn't turn the ballot over. I don't get a redo. I don't know what else to say about that. I'm just saying, as voters, we're supposed to be educated. I believe we were told, make sure you look at both sides of the ballot. I'm just representing another point of view. Thank you for what you've done. I invite people to come to the board meetings and listen. I've been coming for at least 10 years. And I've watched and I've listened to budgets. I've watched lights being turned out. I've watched positions being eliminated. Do I know everything that goes on here? But I believe you guys are doing the best that you can do for us with a good heart. Whether we agree or not, that's a different issue. But I just wanted to present a different side. We're not all saying the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public would like to come up? Okay. That brings us to the end of our agenda. And I have to ask one more time, is there anybody else in the public that wants to come up and share anything else with us?
USD Capital.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session to consult with the township attorney regarding litigation settlement strategy in connection with SD Capital LLC, Oakland County Circuit Court, case number 2018-165086-AS, and Waterford versus SD Capital LLC, Oakland County Circuit Court, case number 2018-167747-CH.
Support. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please, what it says.
Fresca.
Yes.
Birch.
Yes.
Joey.
Yes.
Bartolet. Yes. Camilleri, yes. Thomas.
Yes.
Waller.
Yes.
Okay, and we will, there is a chance we come back and we will be voting on something relative to this, so sorry Denise, you have to hang around.
I live.
No,